Go ahead and call the April the 22nd, 2013 Public Safety Committee to order. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
So moved.
Got a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First thing I want to do tonight is I want to thank Pauls for bringing in the, hopefully all of you got a chance to go by and look at the adoption trailer that with the grant that we had received. I'm sorry,
Donation money.
donation money. This as good as a grant.
It's better.
It's better.
The paperwork.
But that's a nice trailer, and it will be used hopefully quite a bit, not only in disasters, but also in pet adoptions. I think it can be used for, so thank you for bringing that. Next, first thing on the agenda I want to do is consent agenda, and hopefully you all had a chance to kind of read over some of these reports. Maybe this will save us some time. It did last year on some of these reports when we do the sheriff's budget. When y'all are able to, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. And I think, but while I'm doing that, I think tonight, on two of them on the consent agenda, the fire and rescue and Paul's, I think have budget amendments tonight, but they'll be presenting here momentarily. And with the ambulance service is already on there, so.
I'll move to approve
Got a
consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion has carried. Pauls, you want to come on up and do your budget amendment?
Actually, I have one more matter after that as well.
I'm sorry?
I have one more matter after that as well.
Okay, all right.
The budget amendment is asking, give us $6,500 from the pooled gasoline account to give us through the end of the year. We had $35,000 budgeted there originally. We feel that we're gonna be that short based on where our gas runs around $300 to $3,500 every month.
Okay, y'all have heard the request. What's the will of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion? Call the roll?
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. All right.
The second item, when I got back today, I had an email from the state of Tennessee regarding the animal friendly grant that we apply for every year. I'd just like for your blessing to go ahead and apply for that. I haven't thought about the amount yet. It is no money from the county. How that works is, we invoice the state and they reimburse us the money
So
afterwards.
it's no matching grant?
No, sir.
Okay.
Last year, we applied for, I think, 6,600, and we got 3,975. Basically, what they do is they take the number of applications, divide it up by the money they have available, and everybody gets the same amount.
Okay.
But I'd like for your blessing before I go and apply for that.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve it with also granting the mayor or whoever else needs the authority to sign for that.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, fire and rescue.
We were appropriating I think it's $55,000 to buy those two tankers, and we are in the process of getting one built. We had, the bid come in, I think about $35,000, so there was $18,000 left over, and I wanted to move $15,000 of that into my vehicle maintenance and repair budget. So we moved $15,000 out of $790 into $338, which is maintenance and repair vehicles.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
And do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Our discussion.
Does this mean you're giving up on the tankers?
Well, they come in at 35,000,
Yeah.
and I only had enough to do one. So that's the money left over, and I've run out of vehicle maintenance money, so I'm gonna have to. I'm down to $300, and so I'm gonna.
What I'm asking is, what are you gonna ask for in the future? Let's put it that way. Is that clear way to put it? Are you gonna
Well, I
ask for a
mean-
tanker this next year, or?
Not this next year. And and there's an issue that was brought up about, what I've learned is that a lot of these younger people don't know how to drive a manual shift transmission. And so that may be a issue. So I want to see how this first one works out before we ever tackle the next one.
Okay.
But it's amazing how many of these younger people can't drive a stick shift.
Nothing wrong with you on that.
Have to have a driver training.
But we definitely got to get some training.
That's right. Can you
Well,
imagine
your,
if they had
your,
one on the car?
your fleet, the age of your fleet is getting older and older and older, so that maintenance is much needed, because I know what I was spending, I know what I dumped on those county fire trucks before I turned them over to the county, and we spent over $10,000 in 1 year, and that was in 2010. And it just keeps piling up and piling up.
My newest engine's 13 years old, so we keep them maintenance and tires and keep them rolling.
Is there any more questions? Let's see, we have a motion. No, we got a motion second. Call the roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. All right, next on the agenda we got, is there anybody else, other than Mike, you've got your budget? We got the request for the Christie Houston, okay,
You go ahead and do that, Faye's not here. So,
okay. A request for permission to
Request-
apply for the Christie Houston Foundation for rescue
Yeah.
truck for fire department and
And,
boat,
I think
rescue
it's-
boat for EMS and SOAR.
Yes, sir.
I've got a couple questions on that. The rescue truck, I know you had part of that in your original budget. I did a little research between last month and this month, and I did some pricing on rescue trucks that have been bought in this county. One, Smyrna Fire Department spent $460,000 on a rescue truck, I believe, a year and a half ago. And Murfreesboro is spending $2.1 million on 2 rescue trucks this year. What I want, I think this is awesome that we're applying to get some grant money, but I do not want to see any money cut out of your budget that was budgeted for that rescue truck. Because if we get a $150,000 rescue truck, there's no sense in getting a truck. I mean, to get a truck that we need, you need breathing air, because there's only one truck in the county that has breathing air, which is the sort truck. If they're on a call or a mission or whatever, there's nobody to fill air bottles. And I know Commissioner P and Commissioner Farley know how important that is, filling air bottles on scene. We need that resource in the county, and I just don't want to see any monies cut out of your budget if we're going to apply for this rescue truck. I want to make sure that all the money's it's in addition to, so we get what we need for the long-term future of this
Well,
county.
Public Safety's already approved my budget, so it goes before the budget could be, I think, the 25th of May. So, I mean, that's out of my hands.
Now, the rescue boat, I don't think that has anything to do, that might be more some questions towards Mike I've got. There was a lot of discussion about Laverne Rescue and their boat at the last meeting, and I'm not saying that the county doesn't need a boat, but we're always talking about sharing resources. Well, I spoke with Chief Blair, and he told me the only thing, he said that truck, the boat, they start it every week, they run it. If the county wants it anytime they want it, 24/7, they can come get it and use it for anything they need. The only thing that they need is a memorandum of understanding between the county and Laverne Rescue in case it's destroyed. And the reason why I'm saying that is, if we can apply to Christie Houston for something else instead of a rescue boat this year, something else that might be a bigger priority than a boat on the lake, because there was a lot of discussion. Do we need to buy a boat? Is that a luxury or is that a necessity?
Well, I think that's why they went with Chris Houston, because they felt like it was probably wouldn't be funded through the commission.
And
You also have the equipment that's on the boat, sonar commitment, equipment on the boat. If it belongs to one, and do you take it out and put your own in, or et cetera?
well,
Or do you let
Well,
everybody use the same one?
just,
Mayor.
while Mr. Farley's up here, just let him address the rescue truck. I mean, I don't think he's really in a position to talk about the boat.
Right. Let me ask you, how much money was in your budget for the rescue truck? I can't remember.
It was, I had $250,000.
Yeah.
That was in the budget.
Okay, that $250,000 will be
For apparatus, yeah.
for loose equipment too?
Yeah, hopefully we was looking to buy new rescue tools to outfit that truck too, and because over the period of years, the tools haven't been maintained, of course, those tools are aging, so, I mean, when we buy a truck, we're trying to replace the hydraulic equipment and the spreaders and cutters and the extrication equipment too. That way, because now we got a maintenance program going on every year, we just had all of our air packs flow tested, so every spring we get everything maintenance and keep it up to date and make sure it's in good working order.
One thing with the rescue truck, and I was aware of it because I was a chief then when we consolidated into the county, but some of the other commissioners or new like me to the commission might not know this. When the county created the plan, the original plan was to purchase 2 rescue trucks per year to get the county up to par, and we've only ever purchased 1, and this is year 3, so we're behind there. So I just want to make sure the other commissioners are aware of that. Some of y'all remember that plan when it first came out, that we were going to try to replace 2 trucks per year to get our rescue coverage up to par in the county. And I just want to make sure that people realize how much of importance this is. You know, this is the truck that goes cut your family out of cars if they're trapped. So that's one of the most important things we can have. So that's why I don't want to see any money cut, and these tools are getting really, really expensive.
All right, is there any more questions on the rescue truck? Okay. Is there a motion, and I guess we can do them separately, is there a motion to approve, give permission to apply for the grant for Christie Houston for a rescue truck?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a second. All right.
I do have one question, Mr. Mayor. Is there a matching portion with Christie Houston that we've,
No, not in this particular case.
not in this particular case, we've asked for a matching portion? Okay.
All right.
You know, we haven't actually made a request, and once they agree, they might say something, but right now, we don't have any knowledge that would say that that's likely necessarily.
All right. If there's no other discussion, call roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. I think. And while we're on, if you want to, Mike, you want to come on up, and then we can talk about the boat, and then we can, before your budget, we'll do some about the dead stock removal, get that out of the way. But, all right, anybody have any questions on the boat for Mike?
I just, like I said, I'd rather see us use that. We can't ask Christie Houston for everything. I'd rather use that money for something more important than a boat on the lake when there's already resources in this county that can be utilized but that aren't being utilized. Maybe that's not, maybe it's because we hadn't really tried or hadn't got a memorandum of understanding. I think, we were, the grants are few and far between, and we've got to treat them like that. We can't just use them for everything, and we need to prioritize what is the most important thing that we can write a grant for. And I know Mr. Nunley's got some apparatus he greatly needs replaced. That's, to me, is 10 times more important than a boat right now, because there's multiple boats in this county that are working. And I just don't want to use that grant money or that opportunity, because you can't get, and that's something the mayor says, we can't write a grant for everything, but we got to prioritize what is the highest priority for a grant.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. Something he just talked about on grant money with Christie Houston for ambulances. We've already gotten 4 ambulances from Christie Houston. Is that, how was it been, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, they've been very generous to the ambulance service over the years. In fact, if you recall, they're the ones that bought the first boat.
Right.
The rubber boat that we used.
And the sort building, half of the sort building.
they bought some ambulances when we got the 3 demos and,
Well, there was 4 of them, I think.
yeah, but
We
there
ended
was
up-
3 demos and
we
one
ended
a
up
new one or
having- We
something.
ended up getting 4 because we bought some, they were old, but they were new.
Yeah.
Right, because of the savings.
And
And then the other thing that they did for us last year too, is they bought all those cardiac monitor defibrillators for us. There was actually a little bit of money left over after we bid them out, and they gave us permission to spend that money on AEDs. It's been very generous to them.
And that's what I would like to see Mr. Nunley's asked for some sim mannequins in his budget and stuff, and some more AEDs and those type things that I think would be better to ask Christy Houston for than a boat, because we could get that equipment on a Christy Houston and we can utilize this boat that the Laverne Rescue Squad's through memorandum of understanding, which they've said they would do. And then here in a year or two, when times get better, we get a boat. But right now, the call volume up there is just not. To me, it's not priority versus everything else we got going on in this county. And the sheriff hadn't even presented his budget. We might have to write a grant to Christy Houston for his budget when it gets said and done. So.
Let me say this, we know roughly about how many dollars available. It's just about enough money possibly available to do the rescue truck plus a boat, whatever that would cost. That's about the extent of what we can ask for this go round.
I mean, from an operational aspect of it, the equipment on that boat, I mean, it's gonna be hard to, because I know Laverne Rescue is probably not gonna want the ambulance service utilizing that sonar equipment, all that stuff, because it's gonna be
He told me anytime they want it. The only thing is he wants a member vendor. If they break it, they fix it. That's the only thing he said. We just need an MOU signed.
if they break it, they fix it. So, I'm not saying Laverne Rescue would do
The
this.
sort team does it with everybody else. If, they utilize, they share a bunch of equipment. So they're sharing equipment one way, but they're not receiving shared help the other way. So I'm just looking at it on both sides of the fence.
Laverne's your district.
Well,
What's your thoughts?
Well, my question right here, did Mr. Clark talk to Chief Blair? Do you know?
I think so, yeah.
And did they resolve something to
Not
themselves?
to my knowledge, I haven't talked to them.
Because when I talked to both of them, and I left it with them, with Krista Caldana. But the one big thing with Mr. Clark was the equipment that the county has, and I don't know how much Laverne actually has, but he is worried about trying to shift that around, putting it in a boat, taking it out of a boat, or if one or both entities were using the same equipment. And,
I don't believe they have the side scan sonar, because that's a very expensive piece of equipment that we got that on Homeland Security grant. And it's also very large when you're talking about the towfish that actually goes in the water, and then that computer station that does the readout and all that. I don't believe they have that.
So really, from one weekend to the next, it wouldn't be.
Well, when you get into that too, you're also looking at a recovery, not a rescue. So there is time to shift equipment around if need be for recovery. I mean, they're at the bottom of the lake. I mean, I'm just saying, if we hold off for a couple years and this is what we need to do in a couple years, and the call volume justifies it, and that's where we need to go, then utilize it. I'd much rather put that $57,000 into those sim aids that could possibly get cut, because those are important for our paramedics to be constantly training. I'd much rather make sure that money stays in his budget.
All right, we've heard some talk here about the boat. What's the will of the committee? Is there a motion?
What I'd like to do is I'd like to see the ambulance service and Laverne Rescue be able to work it out, if it's possible. If not, I don't want to overstay our welcome with Christy Houston. And I mean, like, they've helped us with fire station and things, and the ambulance service quite a lot here in the last couple of years. And I don't know if maybe $57,000 will overstay our welcome with them.
Well, they've already given us a reasonable understanding that they're willing to do both of these items.
Okay.
We think it hasn't happened, we don't have final approval, we have to make an official request.
I think from the operational side of it, trying to go out here, I'm just using my 29 years of experience in the fire service, going out here and trying to switch over equipment and stuff back and forth. The operational side of it, it's mass confusion, and it could cause some problems down the road. Either you're in the business or you're out of the business, one way or another. You can't just get halfway in and halfway out. So, that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Well, my next question is, where are we gonna put the boat at?
That would kind of be
Because we got a bus that's coming into the sort building now, and I asked the question on the bus, and we're running out of room, so I want to know, because if we have to build more bays, and we didn't know that on the front end, that's something we as the commission need to know.
I don't know for sure where it would go, Mr. Young, but if I had to make a knowledgeable guess, I'd say that at least during certain times of the year, it would be wise for us to put that boat at our central Smyrna station. It's right there close to the lake. And that's where our calls are.
I can see what you guys are saying, and as far as Christy Houston, but, they're saying they're willing to give us the money for this boat. I say I'm willing to take it, and I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to that effect, that they be able to apply for the grant, and the mayor or whoever needs to be able to sign for it if it's granted.
I'll second.
Got a motion, we have a second. All right.
Is there supposed to be a fire pump on this boat? Because I've heard that too, because if there's gonna be any fire apparatus on, the fire department should have a boat, not the ambulance service. So
Not that I know of, Commissioner.
because that was
I think the boat that you might be referring to, is that they have one at Sumner County, and then they have one at Metro National.
Hendersonville just got one, and Nashville got one.
Well, I knew he had said something about a fire pump, and if we're getting in the fire business, the fire department needs to be running it, because they need to be the ones fighting fire, not.
The only time that we've ever responded to a boat that was on fire, we took the firemen with us in our boat.
How much did the Hendersonville cost us? I heard of
$540,000.
They're on a navigable waterway, though. They got barge traffic, so there's
And
a
we
big
don't need no
difference.
$540,000 boat, fire boat.
They can have a fire hose on there, I guess, for $540,000.
Could we use this grant money to fund some of the other things in his budget, or does it have to be the boat?
You can use grant money to fund anything the people that are granting the money would agree to, okay? They have funded some of the things that's in the budget even before, like cardiac monitors and everything. So they're in the business of healthcare, support, and otherwise.
I kind
These
of,
two things sort of were appealing to them, and the amount of money they cost is sort of in the available likely funds that they have.
I would just like to go through the budget first, because I know there's going to be several questions and concerns that, the ambulance service really needs to prioritize and say, this is number one, this is number two, this is number three, because something's going to get cut.
Well, we got
If the boat's going to go first,
we got a motion on the floor.
something else is going to get cut.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. There's no other discussion, call the roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips. Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
No.
Commissioner Young.
No.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes.
5-2.
5-2 passes. All right. Next on the agenda will be the dead stock removal service agreement.
Did we do this?
What's that? We're gonna, when he does his budget, so we'll do that. I want to get the boat out of the way. Dead stock removal service agreement for fiscal year 2013-14.
I believe that hopefully Ms. Taylor has loaded that on your staff head, and that's the same agreement, no increase in the cost that we've had for a number of years now, so that's a contract we have to pick up large animals off of our farms, et cetera.
And deer off side of the road.
Yes.
These guys are very courteous and have for years done a wonderful job. When someone loses an animal, it might be a pet like a horse, they are just really, really responsive and do a really good job.
So they will come on the property?
Yeah.
You have to take them to the
All right.
Well, I've read this earlier, and it's the same thing, and they're gonna, if any increases in fuel, that they're gonna take care of it. So I'll make a motion, we approve the same agreement as we have right now for next year.
All right, we got a motion, then do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Forwarded to budget.
One of the few things that's not going up this year.
Yep. All right, Mike, well, yeah, you're back again, the ambulance service budget?
All of that was our approval forwarding it onto the budget.
Correct.
All right.
All right, we got, is y'all budget on here? Yeah,
I have a budget amendment too.
okay, you can do the budget amendment first?
That's whatever you want to do.
Yeah, do the budget amendment first.
On the budget amendment, we need to add some money to overtime pay. We'd like to take $15,000 from paraprofessionals payroll and $25,000 from their dispatch payroll and move it to overtime pay. What's caused that issue is we had one full-time dispatch position that has been open all year, and we've been having to pay overtime to fill that position. This fellow was on medical leave. He's since become permanently disabled, so we can fill his position. And the other thing is, we haven't come to you any at all this year to transfer money that we take in on special events over. And we don't really need to because it all goes the same place.
Right.
But we've done more special events this year than we normally do. We get paid for that. We get paid pretty well for that. And, but we pay that out of the overtime too as well.
Okay.
So we need to add $40,000 to payroll. We need to put money in maintenance and repairs of vehicles in the amount of $25,000. We propose to take $10,000 from evaluation and testing, that's $322, and $15,000 from uniforms, $451, to put into vehicle maintenance.
That's all, it's not in, it's in your budget.
Those line items such as the uniforms are going to be okay.
Yeah.
All right, you've heard the request, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion. Hearing or seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. All right. You got to undo your budget. Okay. All right. And the service budget, I think last month, they went over it, we've seen it. I think, Commissioner, from the number one district here, wanted to, come back with it this month and have a chance to study it. You got it?
Well, I got a couple of questions that I'd just like to hear again from them.
All right.
And a couple things, just reading over the chairs, and I have, is that $499? Are these chairs that we just bought 6 of, or are they something?
No, the last time we bought them, we bought 6. What we thought we'd do rather than buying 6 because they're expensive chairs.
Yeah.
Rather than buy 6 at a time, we just replaced them 2 at a time.
How long, it wasn't very long ago that we bought them though, was it?
Yeah, it's been, do you remember, Melanie?
I think it was 3 years ago.
That's chairs going around the station, right?
No, that's a dispatch.
Dispatch chair.
Yeah.
Well, when you sit in, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, they're not gonna last. 3 years is about long enough to.
Okay. And I would like to go over again about the sort building. And I see what the plan is there if a station, and I'm wondering if just making a station, a new station is gonna, how much is that gonna help response time as the county is it really gonna increase it from this, or decrease it? Because it's gotta be in a city somewhere. That, I mean, are you gonna be traveling right into a city, is what I'm getting at there, and with the way the traffic is gonna be, that, I guess my question is, put it point blank, I guess, is that, is it gonna decrease the response time if you build a new station? And if so, why?
It would decrease the response time for the people that were.
Right there, yeah.
Station. The other thing that it would do, if it cut down on the size of neighboring zones, then it would cut down the response time that way.
And then it said also about the sort building, put the beds in it, et cetera, like this. And one of the problems out there, the way if I'm thinking back to last month, was that the amount of traffic that's coming through the sort building out there. Now, are all the people that come through there, do they have a need to be there, or are they coming because it's the sort building?
Well, no, it's not just, they're not just visiting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of classes that are taught there, and those classes are taught for every other public safety agency in this county.
Mhm.
But when and we're happy to make that available for that. But the problem is that when we originally designed the sort building, it was designed to have sleeping quarters in the back. We didn't have enough money to do that, so that got cut off of it. Some of the plumbing and stuff was put in there for future.
It's stubbed in or whatever.
But there's so much traffic there now that the guys that are on duty are not getting a whole lot of rest. And let me just explain something about the money that we asked for in that might be spent on one or the other, or even something else. You know, we still have the very good possibility that the Middle Tennessee Medical Center is going to donate us the PACE Center, which is behind our Burton Street building.
Mhm.
And obviously that amount of money wouldn't do all three of them, it'd only do one of them. But we really don't know which would be the most pressing or which would be the correct one to do. At some point after this budget is over with, we'll give you a plan and give you time enough to look at our plan and those things that we've studied as far as where we think the next ambulance station should be, if you choose to do that. I'm not sure that would be the answer, to be honest with you.
Before I even want to discuss funding a station, I want to know where it's going to be, what zone it's going to look like, how it's going to affect the current zones. I don't want to do another Manchester Road. That should have been built a lot closer in. I know that the response time's out there, but it had 19 calls in zone and 100 and whatever calls that, you know, we were neglecting, we put it way far out, but it really needed to be closer in because where the call, it needs to be both. It needs to be call volume and response time. It needs to be a comprehensive study, not just, and I want to see that data before I even vote to fund a station. I want to plan first.
I can't give it to you yet because we're not finished with it. But the other thing that you got to remember is that just because you put it in the budget doesn't mean that it gets spent, because you have to approve it before we can spend it.
Well, we gotta have it on that. We gotta appropriate the money, and it's a pain for us if we appropriate something we don't spend. With the sort building, you know, you talk about the classes, and this frustrates me. And it's not EMS; it's the county in general. Emergency management has a training facility, a huge training room.
Actually, that's half ours.
That's half yours. The sort team has a training facility. The county fire department has the old rescue squad building with a training. All these have huge classrooms. The classroom on West College Street at the rescue squad building. The new county fire station has a classroom. So we've got a bunch of classrooms. I don't think we have one at mine. We don't really have a classroom where I work. They've got a small meeting room that seats about 20 people.
Go city council and ask for one.
But what I'm saying is, why does the county have all these training rooms? Why don't we do a little bit better job of utilizing the facilities instead of...
Some of the training that we've done at the sort building has been for the Murfreesboro Fire Department.
I realize that, but what I'm saying is, instead of saying, oh, well, there's too much traffic. Well, have the classes elsewhere so there's not as much traffic to affect those people. Maybe remodify what we already have. We've got existing building there. If that training room, if we could utilize training elsewhere, maybe that training room could be built. We could spend half the money and modify that for living facilities in there. That's thinking outside the box, and that's what we got to do, because every year we've appropriated more money than we've had to spend in our budget, and we got to make some cuts here.
We don't know that money will be spent for that. That's one of the possibilities. The other possibility would be a station, and the third possibility would be doing something with Pace Center. You want to go first, Commissioner Stevens?
Oh,
I've got a bunch of questions, so.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter to me. I had a question. I was looking over the positions, and I got your information that you forwarded me the other day. I had a question about the community relations position. Is that critical to the operation of the ambulance department?
I don't know that you can say it's critical to the operation of the ambulance department, but I think it's a very necessary position. Most all public safety agencies believe in a strong community training program. We visit every school in this county at least once a year. We do a lot of things along daycare centers. Anybody pretty much that wants to teach children about public safety people, we go there. In addition to that, that person does many other functions in this county, so they don't just work for the ambulance service, although that's where she stays and that's where her pay comes from. She works for the mayor's office, and she works for other county agencies as well on any type of public relations that needs to be done.
Well, I guess we're looking at $6.8 million of projected revenue, and the budget is $12.3 million. We've got a pretty big deficit there, and the taxpayers are subsidizing the part that's not being paid for in the collections from patients and those who are using the services. And again, we look at priority. I can't see that that's something that's critical to the operation. I think the 911 is still going to run if that person is not on the payroll. And $54,000 salary plus the benefits, and then there was a slush fund that had $70,000 in it called other charges, and part of that looks like it goes to community relations. And with the budget being that far out of balance and the shortfalls that we're facing in other places, we've got to critically look at every line item and ask ourselves, is this just absolutely necessary for the department's function? And I just can't see that this is something that we have to have. That line item was.
I don't necessarily want to see the position cut. I'd like to see the position absorbed by the other paramedic positions. But I don't want to see anybody lose their job. I just want to see that position get absorbed back into shift rotation. I think I kind of agree with Commissioner Stevens. You're looking at opening up another station, and we're going to have to hire at least 6 more full-time paramedics.
We don't. That's one of our problems, Matt, that we've always had, is because typically when you just look at opening a station and you think, well, there's 3 teams of 2 there, that's 6 people, but that doesn't account for any time off, any vacation time, any sick time, any FMLA, or any of those things. And basically, you can't operate a station with just 6 people; it'd be shut down.
Or if you hired 7 or 8 people for that one station, I'd like to see that position absorbed into one of those 7 or 8 positions, because we're not going to have the money to fund.
We don't have any positions in the budget.
I understand that, but you're wanting to open up a station. So the next year, we're going to have to, it's a never-ending cycle. The station managers, I'm wondering if you could better utilize them by putting them on 24-hour shifts. I understand you have to have a hierarchy. I agree with that. I agree with Maslow's theory of hierarchy. It's public administration 101. You got to have steps for people to move up. But I'm looking at it from my point of view and span of control. If they got a station and they got 2 stations, they're looking at 2 stations. They're only managing 4 people at one time. If they were on a 24-hour period, they could manage 3 stations 24 hours a day, and we could actually get, I think, 2 or 3 extra positions back to go back on the truck.
Then you don't have any continuity, and what you have when you have that is you have cliques that form, and you put one shift versus another shift versus another shift, is that not correct?
You have continuity at the fire department.
No,
You
you
got
don't.
Clint, you
Yes,
got
you
Clint
do.
at the fire department.
Yes, you do.
Absolutely. you
It's
don't.
that's a management issue if you don't have continuity.
Well, you
All
got
three,
some
all three
management
shifts at
issues
the
then.
fire department are the same. That's what you're telling us.
Those people rotate, those people that are in charge rotate shifts, remember?
That's why.
Exactly.
That's the very reason they rotate shifts, because I was involved in it.
And I'm saying he could possibly do a better job of looking at different ways to save the money and save some positions so we can
No,
look at get this
you were
other
talking about
ambulance.
continuity. I was just
You
debating
never
me
let
on
me
the
finish.
continuity.
You never let me finish. I think there's better ways. I've even discussed this with Sonia Stevenson. She's agreed with me that the management wise, as far as span of control, that we could do some things to better utilize. I've said this last year. We have an HR director at the ambulance service, and we have an HR director for the county. They're the only ambulance. They're the only department that has their own HR.
You
So
have,
Sheriff's
well, the
Department.
Sheriff's Department,
We
you
don't-
have an administrator on every fire station. You have a captain at every station, is that not correct?
How many employees do you have at that station?
I don't know, how many do you have?
5.
You
Span
have
of
5.
control. You have 2 on an
Okay.
ambulance.
We did a survey of every public safety agency in this county 2 years ago on the ratio of administrative people to workforce, and we were lower than every one of them, and way lower than Murfreesboro Fire Department.
And I looked at that, and I disagree with your study because you didn't look at people that were on 24-hour duties and people that were on 8-hour duties. So
Is
the study
captain
was
not an
flawed.
administrator?
Well, the captain's a frontline supervisor, but they're supervising 4
supervisor.
people at one time.
Okay.
At 4 people at one time, 24 hours a day. You're
And
gonna
our
have
people
one
are
person supervising 2
supervising
people?
14?
You're gonna have one person supervising 2 people
No,
24
we
hours a
got-
day, or
we got-
8 hours a day?
We've got one person supervising more than 8 people. Actually.
How many
if you-
station managers do you have?
5, 6, if you count. 2 stations per station manager.
So they're supervising 4 people,
Well,
8
no.
hours a day.
No, because it takes more than 4 people to run an ambulance station. You just got through saying 6 a minute ago, but actually it's 7.
No. Yes, at one time, they're only supervising 4 people at one time. They're not supervising any more than that.
Well, if they're supervising 2 and one person calls in sick, would you agree that they're supervising 3?
No, they're only supervising 2 people at one time. The other person would be off on
We just
sick
have to agree to
leave.
disagree on that, man.
I think, with our own HR director saying, yeah, we could cut some stuff there, I'm gonna listen to ours. That's what she told me when I met with her office. She agreed that there could be some cuts there.
Well, first of all, I have no disrespect to the HR director, because Sonia does a good job. It's not her decision to cut somebody. That decision is the county commission and that man right there.
I went to her because she's the HR and
She's HR, she takes care of HR. She don't do nothing about budgetary stuff. It's the county mayor and the county commission that makes that decision. HR, Sonia doesn't do that.
the way I look at this is the ambulance service is an industry that's ran on the backbone of the private sector. They need to run more like the private sector and less like the government.
All I'm saying is that she takes care of HR. Budgetary stuff happens through the county commission and the county mayor.
Well,
All right,
we're grossly top heavy. And I don't want to see those positions cut. I want to see them better utilized. And that's what my suggestion was. Let's look at 24-hour shifts for them.
I don't agree we're grossly top heavy. I mean, I just want to make a,
I can show you on paper just like he can show you on paper.
these station managers even fill in on occasion when people are not able to come into work for one reason or the other. Including our
Vacation,
north
sick
end
time.
supervisors, they even do that. We have records of all of that.
I just think we can do a lot better job. We're going to ask for 1.47 million over last year's budget. We got to make some cuts.
That 1.4 million, almost the whole thing is capital expenditure increases. Look at all of the other line items and they don't even total to $200,000, not even $100,000. All the expenditures are capital expenditures that we don't have in this year's budget. They're projected for next year. 4 of those total $1.4 million.
We got to make some cuts. We were in a deficit last year on our overall county commission budget. We got to make some cuts.
I understand all that.
And I don't want to cut positions. I want to better utilize them and get more for our
They
money.
haven't had any new positions, and I don't know when in the ambulance department. We are, for the last several years, we're probably one of the most efficient departments we have operating. and they have increased their revenues substantially. They've increased their fund balance.
Well, then let's lower their 8.29%.
That will be discussed fully when we get the budget into the full commission.
If they're increased revenues, we need to lower their property tax. It's-
How much is 1 penny on the tax?
Almost 600,000.
So if we use the same amount this year, that's not gonna be, that won't even be enough to make it. They'd have to have more than that, wouldn't they?
No.
They're projecting 6.8 million.
We've got some fund balances. All of this, these capital expenditures don't have to be funded out of operating revenue. We can fund some of those out of our balances, and I would expect that we would do that.
And that's money that the ambulance service is generated
It's
through
already
fees.
been generated, yes, it is.
Is the 250,000, are you gonna recommend that we put that in the budget or wait until we get a better idea
I'm
of
going
where
to
that's?
recommend that we put the two, you're talking about for either a station or the improvement of the sort rating, yes. But again, as Mr. Nundy said, all of this will have to go through property management to see if we really want to do this. But we would suggest doing that out of capital ending fund balance. I mean, we choose to do one of those two options.
Can we leave it out of the budget, and then if we decide we want to put something, just appropriate it at that
You
time?
can do that. You can make budget amendments anytime you want to. I think, as a matter of reasonable planning, this gives us direction to really evaluate and give you proper information to make a proper decision.
Well, I've seen, if we had money in the budget and something isn't done, and it's used for other purposes within the budget, it's always spent.
We just cut 15,000 from uniforms, and he's only spent 23 to date, and he's asking for 75 again.
Right.
So we're just using it for other things.
If you appropriate it, it's gonna be spent, and I don't wanna appropriate it unless
15
we're-
minutes ago, we did that.
You're exactly correct. We do that from time to time. This is not very many things we move around this ambulance budget.
I mean, that's case in point. 15 minutes ago, we just moved $15,000 from one to another, and he's asking for the same amount, and only spent 23,000 to date on uniforms. So, to me, do we cut money out of uniforms? I mean, we got to start answering these questions, or we're going to keep. You're not the only department I'm going to question.
All right, I'm recognizing the director.
I would like to address both Commissioner Stevens and Commissioner Young. I resent it when they say it's gonna be spent for other things. Folks, if we stick to our projection for this year, we're gonna return $300,952 back to the budget. We don't do that at the ambulance service, and I resent your implications.
Let me just kind of throw something out there. I can remember, excuse me, it's age-related, it is, but I can remember years ago, 10 years ago, that we were having a tremendous problem in the whole emergency services, ambulance service, retaining employees. We were losing them right and left. We would train them, and then they would go to someone else. And we worked really hard for several different budget years to make changes to increase their pay to where they were comparable to other services in our geographical area. And another issue was the hours that they were having to put in, and we adjusted those. And I think that kind of goes to that schedule a little bit too, that maybe Matt was talking about. But we did some things to make our jobs more attractive, so we weren't always in a hiring mode, and we could not only hire qualified people, but retain those people and not constantly turn those over. And that was a real issue. It was a public safety issue for our county. And I apologize because I don't remember the time frame, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 8-10 years ago we were having those issues, and schedules and pay was both of those, and we implemented a lot of things, or several things, but one of them was how do we collect more money, and then we started spending more money to collect more money, and all of those things seemed to work out. And I just remember that not only was it pay, but it was the amount of hours that we were asking these folks to put in, pulling them away from their families during times where a lot of us were enjoying families, and our families, and I can remember some of those issues that we've been able to overcome the last few years. And I think the ambulance service is probably much more efficient right now than they were 10 years ago, simply because we made some changes. We ended up spending money, but the other part of that is we ended up with a lot of additional revenues that we just were writing off and not collecting. So from a budget perspective, we're better than we were a number of years ago, and I would hate to see wholesale changes in personnel might get us back into that situation that I and several other commissioners at that time considered a little bit dangerous as it related to not having people to staff some of those stations, and I can remember that. Even at my age, I can remember that, and I think that some of the services that are provided right now are much more efficient than they were before, and it's maybe because we've spent more money, and as our population has grown, not only have we spent more money, but we've had a way of collecting some of those refunds, and it's never going to be probably a department that doesn't require some support from the county. I don't think it can pay for itself, but I do think that as from a management perspective, we've come a long way in a very positive way, and I can not only commend the ambulance service, but the commission for working extremely hard and trying to turn that situation around, because it was costing us tons of money to hire and train and lose, all in the same year, and it was a situation that was unacceptable.
And one reason we did the station managers, at that time, years ago, there was one, what we call shift commander, that was taking care of managing all the stations from the north end of the county to the south end of the county. They were not able to manage the day-to-day operations for each one of those stations because there was no supervisor there for those people to go to, and we implemented the station managers to help manage and help the shift commanders to be able to manage and put that span of control down, because the shift commander was managing, 25, 30 people or on a shift. When you narrow that span of control down to maybe a 5 to 1, which is more manageable when it comes to management. That's the reason the shift commander, the station manager was implemented years ago, to be able to help also on the management side of the ambulance service.
And I agree with you 100%. But who's managing those people at midnight? That's why I said we need to look at a better utilization of those supervisors, because we're not managing them at midnight.
At midnight,
They're going on plenty of calls, I promise you.
But you can manage things better on the night than you can on the daytime, because there's a lot of stuff going. There's more calls during the daytime normally because the population is out there moving more than there is at night when people are at home in their bed asleep. They're not out on the road for traffic.
Come over in my district and tell those guys at Burton Street that they and you know it, and you know what I'm saying. And that's all I'm saying is I just want to study a better way of utilization of
They go
personnel.
24 hours a day, because to remember that the station managers are salaried, which means that they work whatever it takes. And I think if you brought them up here, they could all tell you about.
They're working more than 40 hours a week.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I've got a couple questions, and I guess maybe direct these back to the mayor, and that's who will be, seeing this in budget again. You said something a minute ago about this increase that we're seeing is almost all capital. And all that capital is coming out of the reserves. Now, just say this was the only budget we were looking at, would this budget require a tax increase for the coming year? And I'm not saying that I agree with everything's in this budget. There's a lot of things in here I question, but would it be a fair assessment to say that it would not cost us anything on the tax rate, or would it?
The amount of pennies we have allocated to the ambulance service is more than sufficient. And there is some real probability we will suggest giving some of those pennies back even this coming budget year to county general.
Well, that was my point, is the revenues that they've got in, they're not spending, and they do have some reserve, and we've changed the way we budget them, and they're a separate part of the budget. it's confusing to me, but, you know, I've seen it for a couple, well, several years now. And, you know, just to make sure you know, I know it's a concern to all of us here. We don't want to raise taxes. We don't want to be frivolous with our money. There's things in this budget I don't like. And I'll just tell you right offhand that one of the things is I'm not big on saying, okay, let's appropriate this money for these new buildings unless we know where they're at. But yet I understand you don't have the plan in place. You know, when the plan's in place, maybe, you know, like Commissioner Stevens says, we can pull that out of there. But I don't know that that's the best way to approach it. But I haven't done a lot of thought on that. I hadn't looked at the financing that it would take to do that either. But I just wanted to make the point that even with this increase, with these being capital dollars, it's coming out of an account. It's not going to affect the tax rate. At least that was my assumption, and it looks like the mayor's telling me that. So,
One thing, you know, we got one of my favorite constituents, Dr. Todd, comes up, speaks every month about, you know, he gave 300 and something thousand back to the county. And Dr. Todd's philosophy is we shouldn't be giving money back. We should be living within our budget, and that's what our budget is, and not over appropriating. That's what he talks about every month, is over appropriating. He said it since for 3 years since I've been on this
The mayor
commission.
just got through saying they're gonna be giving back some taxes that way to help offset some of this other stuff.
And that's what we're going to have to do, but we still don't need to over appropriate. If it's whatever we appropriate, we should figure out on our tax rate to make that number balanced. We've got to do that.
well, I want to stick in something else since you're talking about the budget there. You need to go look at some of these other counties that haven't done what we've done and save some appropriations. They've been having to raise taxes during this time period, and you don't need to do that. You know, during the good times, we were able to put some of this money back, and where it's been lean here, we've been able to take that money and pay it and not have tax increases, and I think that's a more prudent way to be.
And
You're
you gotta
right,
look
you're
at
right.
June, July, and
You're-
August, and
you're right.
September, and no money
And
coming in,
the reason why I'm
too.
saying this particular department is because they have self-revenue. It's a little different than the rest of the county general, and you're correct, but that's why I'm saying this department can appropriate because they know their projections on their revenue versus a lot of the other departments that don't have revenue. Their revenue is strictly the county coffers, per se. So that's why, if we know what our appropriation's gonna be, or projected revenues on.
Is there any other
Yeah.
questions from any other commissioners that would like to ask a question? That hadn't
Just
spoke
two
on.
simple, these are definitely related to the ambulance service. One is, when we have old vehicles and we replace them with new, is any of that equipment still good to use in the new vehicles, or does it not fit anymore?
Some of it is and some of
I
it
knew
isn't.
that answer was coming, I thought.
Like, for
Okay,
instance, radios, we generally transfer those radios.
okay.
Cardiac monitors, defibrillators, we move that.
How do we compare with surrounding counties, especially like Davis and Williamson, Sumner, in what we charge to people, you know, for the emergency service? Are we comparable? Are we higher? Are we slightly lower? Or?
Medicare pretty much drives the boat on that, and what you want is you want to have your charges at their maximum rate, so that then they pay 80% of that. Whenever anything like that changes, then we always come to you for a change. And everybody else is the same way.
Okay.
I've got a question about some health equipment. This
Well,
is-
Can I get somebody to let somebody else ask some questions before?
Sure.
Commissioner, is there anybody that hadn't already asked questions, want to ask any questions? Okay, all right.
Line item 735, it's health equipment. You talk about a ventilator, simulation mannequins, cardiac monitors, AEDs, wheelchairs, and I know a lot of what some of this is, and you got to replace it. The question I got is, I remember you went through purchasing a while back on stuff. Is any of this stuff on state contract? We could buy off state contract to save money?
Some of it is, and some of the times when we did it through our county purchasing, we actually get a better price from the state.
I just knowing some of the, you know, are you replacing one ventilator or
We're adding one ventilator.
adding one ventilator? You know, I actually did a little bit of research, and that was an astronomical number on a ventilator. I don't know what ventilator you're getting or where you got a bid from, but
Now, here's the thing, you may recall, we had 2 ventilators on our support team and 1 on the critical transport team. And the ventilators that we had were recalled by the FDA. And there's only 1 ventilator that is approved by the FDA. So that's what we already replaced 1 on, and this would be replacing the second.
Yeah, I just got an email today that Philips had all their cardiac monitors recalled for the last 5 years. I
We've
don't.
already taken care of that, took care of it last week.
Okay, good deal. That's.
They came.
I just wanted to check. I know that was an issue, and that's critical stuff that we have to have, and that's what I want to make sure. I know you think I'm against you on some things, but I'm really for you on some other things. I just want to make sure we're prioritizing the money in the right direction.
That recall actually was generated by Philips itself. Nothing had happened in the field, but they had been able to cause it to happen in their lab.
And what's the AEDs for? I mean, you carry.
Shock somebody.
These AEDs.
I realize that, but do they got a cardiac monitor that can do that as well? There's, you know.
You asked the question, I ain't getting shocked.
What are they going to use it for as far as, I mean, they got a cardiac monitor on each ambulance, so.
These AEDs actually have a cardiac monitor with them. You can do a 3-lead EKG with this particular AED. In other words, it's not the type of AED that the general public uses.
But,
This one actually gives you a readout of what the heart's doing, and you can cause it to shock even if you want it to shock it.
Are these controlled by your people, or are these also, are you in touch with the hospital care people, and they're monitoring that, they're able to monitor it? Can they do it from the other machine, or is it just this one?
No, just on that one would be something that would be in administrative vehicles, and the medics might even take it inside the house, but they bring the patient back, put them on a 12-lead, and then transmit that 12-lead. The AEDs will only do a 3-lead.
and that's what I was getting at. What are you going to utilize them for? Because you already got a cardiac monitor on each ambulance that they can carry, and they can throw it on the stretcher and carry it to the house.
The AED is much easier to carry than cardiac monitor.
You know, I understand that. That's $96,000 there. That's why I was saying the grant money would be, I'd much rather be apt to spend the grant money on something like that and prioritize. You know, that's what I was looking at, and that's why I kind of wanted to go over your budget first and let y'all figure out. I mean, we got to, like I said, we've got to make some cuts somewhere, and I'm not on budget, but budget will have fun with it. So.
We got 12 cardiac monitors through Christie Houston this past year, so we're gonna have 24 with these 12 that you got in.
You recall that the cardiac monitors that were replaced were Physio Control, and Physio Control had stopped servicing those monitors. We took the old cardiac monitors off of we have 12 trucks that are on the road, actually 14, but on the 12 trucks at the stations, we put the new cardiac monitors on there. We took the old ones and put them on our spare ambulances. We'd like to have all the same.
So then why do we need 30 AEDs when we'll have 24 cardiac monitors? That's just mine. Why do you need so many AEDs?
We need to put one in the supervisors and then the north end supervisor's truck and those kind of things.
Well, I think we could cut it down from 30 then.
The cardiac monitors are inside the ambulances. The AEDs would go inside. They would carry the AED inside in the house when they would go inside on the medical call. They're a whole lot easier to carry inside.
Do we need the 3-lead AED, or could they just get a regular AED off state contract if they need to hook them up to a monitor, carry the monitor in the house? I mean, we can save a lot of money here all day long.
You don't know you need to hook them up until you get in there.
Carry your monitor in with you.
No, we could, and we do, but it would be much easier to carry a much smaller piece of equipment in there.
Okay.
If you need to shock them, you could shock them. If you didn't, then you can get them back outside and put them on the 12-lead. That's what we transmit to them.
Well, how much time does that save with the AED versus taking the big one in with you? I mean, is it?
I'm gonna come to his defense on the AED thing, because we've got them in our patrol cars, and 9 times out of 10, we get there first, we hook up the AED, we hook up our AEDs, and then as soon as they walk in the door, they unplug ours, they plug theirs in, they transfer them, and they get in the ambulance, they're in the bus, and they go. That's exactly what they're doing.
I'd rather.
Are they hooking up their heart monitor to it, or?
No, nine times out of 10, we get to that, we respond to the house first for whatever reason. And we use the AD, we take it in with us, we've got them on a board of each and every car on patrol. We get there, if we need it, then we hook the pads up, we're doing everything until they get there. Because naturally, these say, not the sheriff, but deputy, not doctor or EMT. As soon as they get there, they unplug ours, they plug theirs in, they take over the entire scene, and they're, loading them on the gurney and out the
They're
butt.
plugging their wood in.
They're plugging their AEDs into our
Yeah.
AEDs.
We use
Same
their
patches.
pads.
Right.
Their-
But
their pads fit
you're
out.
plugging into your cardiac monitors because you don't have AED. That's what I'm getting at. They're
Okay,
taking a cardiac monitor in, not a, but if there's already an AED in the house, then why are we taking 2 AEDs in the house now? Now you're taking an AED, and now they're gonna be taking the AED, and they got a cardiac monitor, and they're unplugging it anyways. That's what I'm saying is, we got some stuff we can,
More than 50% of the calls are made inside the city limits. in most cases.
oh, they got AED, they're got AEDs going on all that as well too, so. That's what I'm getting at, is we could use that 96,000 could have been towards the boat. I mean, we just gotta think smarter.
All right. Is anybody else, Commissioner, you had some questions you want to follow up on you said?
I was gonna ask the mayor, have we ever, looked at privatizing or doing a contract with one of the private ambulance companies to see what kind of,
We have not officially done that. We haven't issued RFPs for that. We've done
So that
a
would be
little-
the procedure.
Had a small amount of discussion about it, but that's the extent of it.
do you know any counties that do that?
Yes. Knox County, and I'll tell you right now, when you take the control out of the local government, you don't get the service that the citizens out there deserve. They'll put somebody on there that may not be as trained as much, and it could cost somebody their life. And if we lose control over it, it causes problems, in my opinion.
I disagree. Go look at Williamson Medical Center. The hospital-based EMS runs Williamson County. It's private. It's not the government running it. They pay money, but the hospital system runs the ambulance. And they have a great EMS system in Williamson County. I'm not saying I want to privatize it, I'm just saying you're talking about a private company versus hospital-based. There are hospital-based that do great jobs.
He said private, talking about
Hospitals
private.
still
Contracting
private.
out with somebody else besides the county. Because
Hospital's
we could
still
get out of
private.
paying all the insurance and the pensions to the state retirement and all of that.
Those there are a few contracted services that are all subsidized. I would like to be in a position to bid on it if you decide to do that, because I'd be making a lot more money than I am right now.
But then they'd find some other places that they might trim back, like the community relations
Yeah,
person. They
yeah,
probably wouldn't keep that.
And the quality of personnel and the equipment and the ambulances and tires and those kind of things.
And we know different privatizing fire departments and, stuff like that, There's private companies out there, but do you get the necessary services that your citizens out there want? Privatizing deputies, you don't want that,
Well, we need to run it more like a business and less like the government. And that's what I've been saying this whole time. And I know I've been dragging it out. We got the sheriff's budget to go, but every year we voted,
All right.
I would like to just point out that in line item 505 judgments, we have $10,000. And line item 509 refunds, we have $40,000. Line item 510 trustees commission, we have $170,000. Line item 524 paramedic scholarship fund, $12,725. Those aren't expenditures.
We sit there and hear it all and beat up people, but what's the will of the committee on the budget this year, on the ambulance service?
Move forward to the budget with a positive recommendation.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'm gonna second it for discussion. Like I said, there's some things in there, Jeff, that, I don't really care about. I know there's things you don't either. And we've got questions on it, but you know, some of the specifics that y'all have when this comes to budget, which eventually it will, whatever form it comes in, you know, I wanna see them, because I wanna look at them harder too. There's some things that y'all brought up that, you know, that I missed first time through, so, and I want everybody's input on it. Of course, all 21 of us gotta vote on it, but, you know, any of that I appreciate. And like I said, I'm trying to move this on, but I'm not ready to, if this came to budget, I'm not ready to vote for it in the form that it's in. When it gets to budget. I'm saying that there's a lot of things in there, and y'all brought a lot of that up tonight, but I'm gonna look at. But that's my end of the discussion.
What would you want to cut tonight then?
Well, I question the, and I forgot, the person that he's talking about that's going out to do the training. You know,
Community
that's
relations.
community relations. That's the one I wanna look more at, you know, to where this station would go. I'm personally would wanna know where this station's going, or what we're gonna do with that for myself. Now, I'm willing to, you know, send it on the budget, let everybody look at it, and a full commission look at it for that matter of fact, but those are two things that stick out in my mind.
I mean, just.
But like I said, for tonight's purposes, I seconded this because
Right.
we need to move on with it, and, you know, I'm not through looking at it by any means, but I am ready to move it forward and let other people look at it too, but I still, having said that, I'm not ready to vote for it in that form when it gets to budget without looking at these things that y'all brought up.
Let me amend my motion to say forward to budget without any changes. Budget's just budget's consideration.
And I'd like to offer an amendment. I'd like to offer.
Let me just remove my motion, if you'll remove your second and let Doug make the motion.
Let Doug try.
All right. Are you willing to remove your second, Commissioner T? Okay, motion's off the floor. All right. What's the will of the committee?
What you will, okay. I would like, item 718, to reduce it by 57,000.
All right, 17 is what, motor vehicles?
Yeah, it's a rescue boat is what's in that one.
Oh, good catch.
And I would like to reduce 735 by 30,000. And that's 20 AEDs as opposed to 30 in my mind, is why.
You're wanting to do away with 20 AEDs?
No, 10 AEDs
10.
and leave 20. I'd really like to have left 24 to cover all the trucks, but I couldn't do the math on that quick.
Okay, all right. So that's your motion,
Yes, and then to send it on the budget.
okay? Is there a second to that motion? Motion fails for lack of second.
I'd like to ask Mr. Nunley, if you need AEDs for your staff cars, how many staff cars do you need or your supervisors, how many AEDs do you need there? And the reason why I'm asking you that's because that's what I'm gonna make a motion for. I wanna know what you need that your supervisors that don't have the AED that might need it, because, you know, they might be going four-wheeling off the road and need an AED to get to somebody. I'm not necessarily for one in an ambulance, but how many if you can figure that out, let us know if you need 4. I'll make the motion, Commissioner Schaefer's motion, fund 4 AEDs to make sure that the supervisors.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get a motion on the floor, then start offering amendments to take out something that you want to take out?
Well, we don't have a motion now.
That's what I'm trying,
Okay.
I'm trying to get a motion on the
You
floor here.
simplified, okay.
To
So
simplify.
you want to approve you want to approve the budget and then start taking amendments out to.
That's what I'd like to see, and then that way it'd make it simpler, because I'll tell you, I could vote to take the vote out of there because it's in the Christie Houston thing, but I'm not gonna vote to take away AEDs, which is a life safety issue, my opinion, ought to be yours.
Let me just go ahead and put the original motion out, almost like that again, then I'm moving
Do
forward.
we have a motion, though? Didn't you make a motion?
I'll yield the floor to Commissioner Phillips.
Are you withdrawing?
Yes, ma'am.
Moving forward to budget the recommended budget, the budget committee, the recommended budget of the ambulance service.
I'm gonna second that, and y'all come on with your amendments.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All right,
How about the presented budget? Because it,
Thank you, Becky. That's
Okay.
exactly what I said. I just lost it somewhere.
in all the discussion. All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor, okay? All right, the motion that's on the floor, is there any questions?
I think the best way now is if people have amendments or changes they want to make
Right.
make those and vote on them individually.
Right.
And then when we're done with all those, we'll have a final product to
Right.
vote on. So I'd like to offer an amendment to eliminate the community relations coordinator position from the budget.
All right, we got a motion on the
eliminate
floor.
community relations, what'd you say?
The community relations coordinator position, and that's a topped out salary of $54,426 right now.
I'm gonna second that, but, and the reason being, because I want to discuss it just a little bit, is that's something that I may change my mind on after I dig into it a little more. Commissioner Stevens, I want you to know that up front, so.
They can always be added back in if it's something that's critical that we need, but I feel like it's our job to make a recommendation to budget.
And I agree.
Of the most critical things, and I just can't see that this is something that's absolutely critical to the function of this department.
And I question it myself, that's why I second it, so.
All right, we've got an amendment, then we have a second, all right. Discussion on the amendment on the floor.
Could you, I agree with this wholeheartedly. Could you not let your station managers do community relations in their zone?
I don't really think-
Not across the county, but if whatever station their zone is, they can conduct their own community relations
I
because
don't
they're the
really think
person.
they have time, Matt. They're some of the busiest people at the ambulance service. You come over there and ride with one of them one day.
Let me know when.
Come anytime you want to.
Let me know when.
Tomorrow, be sure, come ride with Billy Stick on tomorrow.
I'll be in Indianapolis tomorrow at training, so.
All right, if there's no other discussion on the amendment on the floor, call the roll on the amendment.
Amendment, your motion is to amend the motion to eliminate the community relations coordinator position.
Correct.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
No.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
No.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
No. 4-3, right?
3-4.
3 yes, 4 no.
Motion failed. All right, is there any other amendments?
I'll make the amendment and so, reduce 718 by 57,000.
Okay, we got an amendment on the floor to reduce for the boat to 57,000 out of 718. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion. It's pretty simple. We just got to, we're gonna apply for the grant. All right. All in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Aye. Open, floor is open.
I'm making amendment, like to add an amendment on the station, the facilities, to remove that from the budget until we have a plan in place.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
What was the motion again? I'm sorry.
To remove the new
250,000.
station and Orward Fort addition.
Until we have a plan in place
Well-
presented to us. I'd like to see that before we need a plan before we need a, well, we'll discuss it.
Well, discussion, and I'll start off here.
Who was
I
your
think it's,
second? Who was your second?
I'll second it.
I think this committee, over the past number of years, we ought to know where that thing's going. I mean, we get this report every year, and we see where the calls are going. I can tell you right now, it's, in my humble opinion, it's gonna be going out towards the Las Casas, towards the Kittrell area, because you got MTSU is one of the highest volume stations in this department.
Well, before-
And so in my humble opinion, we already know what the plan is.
And I agree with you and I disagree. That's where a station needs to go, but the next ambulance needs to go in District 16 if you look at the numbers. I mean,
So-
we're running to
You
death.
got an ambulance station in the heart of District 16.
We need 2 ambulances there.
You
because we're
can't have
running
your
that
cake
much.
and eat it too, Commissioner.
Well, when you run as much, we're creating the revenue there, so.
Oh,
Every run is a loss leader.
exactly.
Well, the reason why I say this, because if we build a station in Las Casas, we might have to add an ambulance in my neighborhood, plus an ambulance. That means we're gonna add,
But Commissioner, here's the thing.
A lot more
It
positions.
should not be about each individual district, it's about Rutherford County.
I'm looking at call
As a-
volume,
as a whole.
not distance.
Chairman, what we need to do, what the committee needs to do, is to take those issues that they want information and data on, and then ask us to provide that, and bring that back. I don't think this is the place to just debate the details of what might need to be done, but if Mr. Nunley and myself and all of his staff members need to work on something, tell us what you want to work on. We'll bring you back some comprehensive information from which you can make a reasonable decision. It might be alternatives, but you can at least have data to work from.
And that's why I asked to strike this right now until we have the plan and the data in front of us. And that's why it's in discussion, because I don't want to appropriate money that we don't have a plan for. I think that's not smart use of taxpayer money.
If this money is cut, when you come back and ask for it later, it'll come out of reserves, right? Your reserves. Is that
I would
correct?
think so.
So I mean,
Unassigned
it's
fund,
really,
not
it's
fund
really a non-issue at this point. Is that correct? I mean, because we've got the money there anyways.
I would rather you ask the mayor that.
The money's available out of your ending.
It's just like bringing it from an unassigned
We're not
fund
gonna-
balance.
Even
That's
if you
what it
leave
would
it in
be.
here, we can't spend a penny until property management and budget.
Exactly.
And the full commission approves the expenditure, and that will be associated with a location.
I
So
just
we're
hear
really doing
Ms.
nothing, either way you go, you're gonna get another 3 bites at the apple.
I just hear Ms. Nolan talking all the time about that number on the budget. You know, when we appropriate something, it's gotta be in the budget, so we have to account for it.
But we have it in the budget in this particular case. It's available.
Well, is it more important than something in the sheriff's budget or something in the Paul's budget or something? You know, it's all county money. It doesn't matter what fund it comes out of at the end of the day.
Appropriated for the purpose of the ambulance, we can reduce the pennies, but we can't move money out of this over to the other.
I understand that. But we could reduce a lot more pennies if we had to move them to the sheriff for SROs. I mean,
The reason I asked that question is because I feel like we're arguing over something that,
It's nothing.
and so we might, I mean,
We're not gonna do anything.
it doesn't matter either
until the
way,
plan
so if
comes
y'all wanna
about
move it, let's
later
just
on.
move it, or,
All right, we got a motion, amendment on the floor. All right, is there any more discussion on the amendment on the floor? The amendment is,
Remove the $250,000 for the station facility or sort renovation from the budget until a plan is in place.
call the roll.
Commissioner P.,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
No.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
yes.
Commissioner Farley.
No.
5-2.
Okay, motion passes. All right,
That's simply a recommendation that you're sending forward to the budget committee,
exactly.
that 250 be not included.
All right. Is there a motion?
I have another amendment I'd like to make.
All right,
I'd like to cut all but 4 AEDs. Actually, sorry, cut all but 5 AEDs because they will need a backup. We'll make sure that he has a backup spare AED. So they're all their supervisor vehicles, and they have one backup this year. Because what the fire departments are going in with AEDs, the sheriff's departments are going in with AEDs. So the AEDs are already there. It's not a matter of, now we got 2 AEDs and a cardiac monitor on the scene. Because the sheriff just said their AEDs are going in, and I know at the fire department AEDs are going in. So if the ambulance service needs an AED, the AEDs are already going in on those calls. They got a cardiac monitor, but those supervisor vehicles don't, and I feel there is a true need there, and I want to give Mr. Nunley those what he needs there, but I don't think that, I think it's a luxury, not a necessity. That's why I'd like to cut all but 5 AEDs.
I don't think an AED is a luxury, I think it's a necessity.
Well, when there's 2 AEDs on scene and a cardiac monitor,
Let's
it's
get
a
a motion.
luxury.
All right, you got an amendment, and is there a second to your amendment? I else would like a second. All right. Is there a motion?
Well, we have
We got the motion.
Exactly. All right, there's no other amendments, call the roll on the budget as amended.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
No.
Commissioner Young,
No.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
5 to 2.
All right, thank you. All right, here, let's see. Next is the Sheriff's Department report and budget.
Would y'all like to take a 5-minute bathroom break?
Hey, I'm ready for bear right now. Unless the committee would like to have a 5-minute break.
Let's do it, Gary, please.
All right, 5-minute break. You wanna do the report first, Sheriff?
Yeah, we got the budget amendments and,
Okay.
I'll do the budget amendments first.
Okay.
Bear with me, Attorney. On the budget amendments, first budget amendment, we've asked to move, several little donations over, one being $1,113, one being $209, one being $654, and one being $250. Over, and that's going to our donations and other supplies. Want the second one?
Please.
Second one is we want to recognize sale of materials, which is $840, $196, and $644. We want to recognize the sale of this recycled materials and putting it into our vegetable garden. And then the third one is, again, sale of recycled materials going into the vegetable garden. And that's $3,307.
Okay, you wanna go ahead and do the 4, 5, and 6, while you at it?
Okay. We wanna move $11,500, $16,500 into building maintenance and repair. And then we wanna move, let's see, for 5, we wanna move $6,000 from kitchen equipment to kitchen supplies, prep supplies. That is, styrofoam trays is the main bulk of that.
Be careful, we may have to amend that, and knock out the cups.
Well, the cups, we've already bought the hard cups, and they've had those for years, we run them to the
All right.
dishwasher. Then also, we're asking for $85,000 to be moved out of undesignated into inmate food.
All right. All right, is there any questions on the request?
Just a brief explanation on the building maintenance.
We've been fighting that one all year long.
Which one is this one?
It's this building maintenance and repair of the building. Naturally, Jamie's here, you know, we've been fighting that since we did the hot water heaters in July. And so we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul to move a little money here and there, in there for, you know, you got toilets that are out. You've got, the Sally Port doors have been broke, you know, just different things around that facility. So we've been, instead of getting money on an undesignated like we requested before, we've just been moving money all year long into that, a little by little.
Yeah. Gotta ask about the 85,000 for food. You run it, didn't you freeze any vegetables or can any vegetables
Nope.
last year?
Nope, because the kitchen was not open, so all the vegetables last year were given to Journey Home and the other churches. This year, all the vegetables will be going into our kitchen because we have a kitchen this year. We didn't open our kitchen till roughly close to December this year.
Are there any other places that you can get money within your budget?
No. We have looked, last month, if you recall, we moved $50,000 over into feeding inmates. That was it. Because now, we have moved money all year long over to building and maintenance and repair for the different issues that we've had. There is no more. I mean, naturally, we've cut projects out to try to get through this year because of building and maintenance repair of the building. And that's why you're gonna see some of those projects are put back into this coming year's budget, because naturally, we cut them out of this year's and trying to put them back in next year's. But we've gotta feed the inmates.
Anybody else?
Just a quick follow-up on that, food for inmates. Have you been moving money out of that
No.
this year? Okay, thank you.
One thing we don't ever touch is inmate food and fuel,
Thank you.
Say medical.
and medical, yes.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion if there's no,
Is this gonna see you through the rest of
It
this?
should,
budget?
according to,
Let me close.
it'll get us right to,
And
by the
this,
skin of our teeth, it should, is what I've been told.
and this has to come out of the jail budget as far as what, you can't move money out of your sheriff's budget. It has to come, you'd have to
No,
move
we
it out.
could move it, we could move it out of any budget in the county if y'all approve it, but
Okay. Well, I didn't know. One right off the top of my head, you wouldn't be able to, is unemployment compensation. I don't know how many people, there was,
typically, we don't move any money, we don't ever touch the salaries, at all. Lisa doesn't want us touching those monies. the overtime, stuff like that. For instance, but we do move, we'll move other things, like our IT. That's where a lot of this stuff has come out of this year. We've been moving stuff out of our IT projects and moving that into building maintenance. And in the other areas, we've moved money all over our budget this year, just trying to get through.
That was the only one that it had 96.72%. That's the only one I saw that anything could possibly be moved out of. Even if it was $10,000 and you left 9,000, I don't know if people plan on.
No, hopefully we won't have any unemployment.
And I didn't know between now to the end of the year if that would matter. That's the only thing I could find looking through this. So.
What about on your communication line item 54, 110, 708? You
That
got
one's real
56.
tight too.
So you've already got some,
Yes, sir. That runs on a monthly basis.
okay, and law enforcement equipment, 54, 110, 716, there's 22.
I think there's been POs that have been encumbered. Steve's saying yes. Money's already been spent.
He said the only one I could find was that unemployment compensation. That was only going to be, that wasn't going to cover much.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this. One thing about it is when we have bills, we got a plan there.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, all right, discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right. Anything on the report as far as it stand out?
We're broke.
All right. Well, is there a motion after you look over the report? Is there any questions or a motion?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. All right, let's move to your budget.
Naturally, I brought all the department heads here with us to discuss whatever needs to be discussed as we go along.
Want a hard copy? Or you can follow along.
Thank you, sir.
I've got a question before we start.
Yes, sir.
Have you and the mayor gone over this budget and
We've met 3 different times so far.
we come to an agreement with the mayor on the budget or where are we at?
The mayor and I have worked some things out. The mayor said he's here just to observe tonight and that he's gonna make his recommendation to Budget and Finance. We met again this morning on some things,
All right.
so. Unless there's,
That's a fair statement. We've had extended discussions, but there will be substantial changes when I make my recommendation.
First page you'll see, of course, is the revenue sheet. I'll run down those line by line if you like, or you can just read through them. If you've got any questions or something, I'm glad to entertain
Yeah,
those.
let them read through them and if you have any questions.
Okay, go back to service of process, we deliver warrants, that's $125,000 for the year. Our phone commissions, which we get on a monthly basis, that contract just got renewed, $360,000 for the year. Every year we get a City of Murfreesboro Technology Cooperation, which is part of our fingerprint machine. We get $25,000 off of that a year. Sex offender registry will be $6,000 a year in revenue. State of Tennessee inmate reimbursement, that average daily population is calculated as 200 inmates a day, per day, $37 a day, $365, $2.7 million roughly.
Bonding companies pay us a fee on a yearly basis, total $60,000. We'll get pay supplements for the patrol officers, a wash through of $120,600. We get contributions from other government agencies that total about $5,000. We're ballparking the drug fund right now at $200,000, maybe more. Video visitation is just now coming online, so we haven't seen a lot of revenue off of that yet, but we know it's going to grow. We're going to start off with $60,000 for that. Commissary sales at $170,000. Inmate Social Security is $25,000. Domestic violence grant, which we just got renewed for this year, $43,819, and the Board of Education overtime reimbursement of $80,000, which kind of covers about half the year. That's what we've seen so far.
So the only thing on there that's an estimate is that 60,000 for video visitation.
Yeah.
That's not on there this year. Is that equivalent to the money that you've taken in this year, what you're saying?
No, that's kind of an estimate because it just started.
Yeah, that's just a guess.
It's kind of a guess.
I mean, I'm talking about the other items.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically $3,920,000, somewhere in that neighborhood that you're bringing in.
Yes, sir. Okay. We'll move on to the next one.
How does that compare with the last year, or what you're actually getting this year? I mean, is the 3.98 million, is that a little higher than what?
No, it's about the same.
About,
And we've got some things pending that could make it go up or down, but it's just at least one of the stuff that we knew for sure.
What months did the telephone commissions actually come in this fiscal year? Do you remember?
I think they started in September. No.
Well,
Yeah, I know
it's a monthly thing, but
Yeah.
sometimes they get jumbled together.
Yeah.
Hold on, I may have them on here.
But we approved the new the new
Right.
stuff
Right.
sometime in there. I don't know how long did it take
Well,
after
the
we
new
approved
rates,
it?
Yeah. that
to
started
get
coming
in?
October?
Board bill.
It was
Somewhere
somewhere
like that.
October, yeah. And we've seen an increase. I mean, that has gone up. Because it used to be like 17,000 a month, and now it's averaging 30. So, and I think that, in addition to the video visitation, I think you'll see that number go a little bit higher.
When we get the video visitation up and going, I think it's gonna be a big seller. We're gonna be one of the first in the country on that, to where literally with your iPhone or your smartphone, you can do visitation from anywhere. And so, one, it's a plus for us. People will hopefully wanna do that than coming down to the jail. Two, it's more of a convenience factor for them, so.
How will that work on the jail side? I mean, are they
They'll
gonna
just
be
go
in an
into-
isolation room or?
They'll go into the same area that they go in right now, because the BizBox system that we put in, they'll be able to, it's kinda like Skype. So you'll be able to Skype in from your phone.
Is that on, will that be available through your existing app or you incorporate
No,
it
it's
with
a
that?
new, it's another whole system through BizBox. It's not through the app itself.
All right.
I don't have the phone revenues. It wasn't on this last month's thing.
Move on to sheriff's budget?
Please.
We'll do it one of two ways. I've got the main sheet there first, and then behind that I've got the item by item breakdown, if you'd rather just do that. First, I go county official and one all the way down.
If you'll just hit the ones that are, an increase on.
We'll go down to 718.
718?
I'm just kidding.
No.
Well, we have a slight increase in SROs for 112. We've got 2 new positions coming online at Stewart Creek. Just a slight increase there for the two new SROs come on.
Is that the only SROs you're asking for in this budget?
Yes, sir.
If you'd like for us, we've got all the stuff. If y'all would like for us to put the additional 11 we've got that information. It's in the very back of your packet.
We'll get to that. I just wanted to know if you had those in there yet.
No.
Okay.
In the, I got the payroll numbers from Lisa Nolan, so in there is the step increases for the year. I believe we also got a proposed in there a 3% increase, or we have a 3% increase in there in the pay table, which has been discussed.
So you've got a step increase plus a 3%.
That's a 3% increase for the pay table itself, yeah. And we've had some talks with Sonia as well. I think she's brought that up to the steering.
She brought it up to steering, but she hadn't said anything to public safety.
Right. I think this is the next committee she's got to come before. So it's in there for now. We'll bring it up for discussion, so. This might be.
What line item was that again?
Well, all the.
That's all the
pay
line
items,
items.
Yeah,
You know, you see,
all the ranks.
deputies 106, 107, 109, 110, 112, 115, 119, all the payroll line items. Right now, from what we understand, Sonia's doing a 1.5%, and we're asking for a 3% above that.
Well, not to leave the committee hanging, Sonia come to steering, and she's looking at some type of public safety pay grade changes or some kind of
Expanding,
increases as far as expanding the job descriptions or the, what do you call it, the pay grades or whatever.
Pay
Is that
grades.
what it's called, Mayor?
Yeah, and it would expand the number of grades that we have. And what she's generated data for applies to all county general employees.
Okay,
not
wasn't just public safety. Okay, I know she said something about public safety up there that night or something.
It'll be up to budget to decide if they wanna push any of that forward. The mayor will not be recommending any of that.
So right now, there's a recommended 1.5% increase. Is that across the board for all agencies or all employees? Or is that just, someone said there was a 1.5%.
All of the budgets that you looked at previously include the step increase, and that's about 1.75%.
So that's the,
What they're mentioning about Sonia, there's a suggestion that we might move the whole table up 1.5%.
Right.
He has in his budget moved the whole table up 3% in addition to this normal step increase.
okay. Want to make sure I had that clear. Thank you.
Next, just to let you know, we've taken two of our patrol deputy positions, corporals on patrol. We are absorbing 2 narcotics positions with those positions. Right now, the mayor and I are kind of in agreement that we put in our budget that for 3 new positions to absorb the other 3 narcotics positions. If you recall, I've been talking about this since day one, taking office, about we need to get the drug-funded positions out of the drug fund. It has gotten to the point the drug fund's gotten down to the point that I don't believe it should sustain itself anymore, and I was not putting them in my budget. The mayor and I worked out an agreement. Naturally, I've absorbed a couple before getting to this point. So we're at this point where I've absorbed half, and hopefully the county will do the other half, the other 3 positions.
Are we gonna come back to that later? Because I think I might have some questions about that. Is that like a later part of the presentation?
No, that's
No,
right now
they've
we're
been
in.
put into these
The
Well,
positions,
they've
are we
put
doing
in
the
here.
drug
Yeah.
fund, or talking about it later, or is that not?
Oh, yeah,
The
that's
drug
the
fund's
very
at the
last.
end, yeah.
Yeah, that's the very last.
Can we set it up to where we assume the positions, but then we get the first
No.
funds out of?
No.
We can't lower, like, building maintenance or some other line item
Not
by
right
the
now.
amount of the salaries?
We've got a plan with our drug fund, and that's what we're focusing on right now.
So where are we getting the money for the 3 positions that we're assuming?
Well, we're gonna recommend that. We got the position to find the money.
The problem with the drug fund that I know of is the legality of it. It's, unfortunately, that's really the only money that's not ours is the commission to touch. I mean, that's the way I've always understood it.
It's for every sheriff's office, every police department in the state of Tennessee that's controlled by the chief of every police department or the sheriff of each county. The drug fund is for their discretion, and it has to be used in 4 ways. And right now, the best way for you to consider it is, it's been a grant that has been given to the county for at least the past 15 years, funding at one time 10 positions. It has had to whittle down because the money's running out. The grant has run out. It's time for either the county to absorb it, those positions. I've done a good faith effort. That was what the mayor and I talked about. I show a good faith, and hopefully y'all would show the good faith in back. If not, then we shut down doing all narcotics investigations in this county and leave it at that.
Lisa said we got a $200,000 increase or took in some money the other day. Is that accurate, or maybe I misunderstood what she said, but I thought she said we just
Right
took
now,
in
it has a
some-
balance that will probably roll over of $200,000.
So we didn't just have a big seizure or something to take in some funds? I guess I'm just
We
worried.
may have some stuff coming down the pike that I'm not
What
aware
could
of.
we, I mean, I've got the printout for the last 2 years.
There's nothing you can do with that money. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing you can do with that money.
Well, I want to fund the positions to enforce the drug laws and to do that, but I want the drug money that's collected to be used to pay for that. And if we can't, if we assume...
And that's why right now, we are in the process of putting together our own plan and trying to rebuild ourselves, because we have not in the past few years. In the past, the drug fund funded everything, bought their equipment, and I told the mayor this. I'll give you, I can't give you, we learned that the other day. But at one time, I told the mayor, I'll give you the drug money. You fund 100% of what I need, and I'll give you the drug money. Now, we've learned I can't do that, and I'm not going to do that. But we need to do some serious rebuilding within our narcotics division, because there's a lack of equipment and serious things that we need to build up in that department to get to the next level where we're going. And I can't talk about those things on camera. Plus, the general fund has been buying vehicles for the past 3 years since I took office for narcotics. Well, we'd like to get back to where narcotics can buy their own vehicles, because then they can do what they need to do with their vehicles. They can buy them, trade them, sell them, because naturally their vehicles get burnt, is what we call it, because they do drug deals. People see those cars, and at that point, you've got to get rid of them. Right now, because we buy them out of the general fund, we can't do that. So there's a lot of other things we need to do, and we're in the process of rebuilding and redoing some things within our drug fund, and we need this to do it. It's either that or we just stop doing it.
Well, Ms. Nolan told me that we can't assume the positions and you pay for those out of the drug fund. She said we can't do it that way, but she did say we could reduce one of the big line items like maintenance or purchasing.
That's if I was willing to do it, and I'm not willing to do it. Right now, my focus is on rebuilding and revamping the narcotics division and getting it back up to speed. Right now, pretty much their operations have been suffering because they have not had the money they need to purchase the equipment that they need.
This is something that I remember you coming to us.
I've
You got
been
elected the
talking
same
about
time I
this,
did.
Yeah, I've been
It's
talking
something you
about
brought
this
to this
since day
committee for
one.
3 years
It's
straight.
been a problem, and it had come to a head in 2010, and we've been kicking the can down the road. I really wanted to try to do it last year, but, and we'll probably say this a couple more times, our budget last year within the county was within $50,000 of having a tax increase. That's why I settled on a lot of things last year. Kind of like, because we've had to move around so much money this year. This is one of those things I'm very passionate about. It's time. It's either we fish or cut bait. I mean, those guys can go back to patrol. We can shut down narcotics, and just, as people call us, we just tell them, hey, they quit funding that, and we're done.
Well, I got the printout for the last 2 years, and I just was kind of wondering, like, there's a lot of Walmart and Sam's Club and B&B awards and engraving. I was wondering what's really buying at Walmart for.
They buy all types of stuff at Walmart.
And that stuff that's used for the narcotics
Yes.
department, like all of the expenditures are things that are used for
It
narcotics.
has to be. The state auditors go through our books and audit every one of our receipts, so therefore, it's legitimate. If you need to, you can call the state auditors and ask them. They've given us a clean bill of health. Batteries, other things, all types of things.
All right. Are you done, Commissioner?
I'm done.
Okay. All right, anybody else?
Okay, if you'll move down to 169, part-time personnel. There's a slight increase there. What they want to do is,
If you'll flip over, you can kind of
yeah,
see where
yeah,
it
so
goes.
this page here, there's a breakdown.
Go across the
Part-time
line.
personnel, yeah.
Actually, that's the-
So they're gonna add 3 for Stewart's Creek High when it opens. We're gonna put 1 more out at Wilson Elementary, 1 for Siegel, and 1 for Daniel McKee. So these are additional school crossing guards. And they had, in the past, they've only been doing 1 hour of training. They'd like to do 2 now this year. And then they haven't had a field training officer out there, and so they're wanting to kind of hire 1.5 of those guys to kind of cover some of the issues that they need as well. So there's money there for that, and then a counselor, as a part-time guy. And so that's where the increase is gonna come from.
This is probably a stupid question, but I'm just asking.
Sure.
I mean, is there, looking at the SROs, is there any way SROs can help out with traffic?
Well, we've been
or-
asked that before. Usually what happens is as soon as the school is available, the SRO's on duty, and he's gonna be all over the place. He can't be stationed at one location every day, because his job is to patrol the campus.
Yeah.
And so.
Me as a threat to the school, if I know the SRO is gonna be out directing traffic every morning, I'm gonna sneak in the back door, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
cause havoc while he's sitting out
Yeah.
on the road.
Yeah.
That's
So we-
right.
so we've got.
That's why the SRO's, never at one place all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked. I knew there was a
Yeah.
reason, but I wasn't seeing it.
So there's an increase for that. If you'll move down to overtime, you'll see the increase there. I went ahead and put money in there this year to go ahead and take care of the Board of Education. This print's so small, 187. I went ahead and put money in there for the Board of Education rollover that we do every year for all the after-school activities that we bill for.
That way we just don't have to come back and do
So
the
we'll
budget
have to come back
amendments.
to an amendment in the middle of the year and everything, so I went ahead and done that now. So these overtime dollars should carry us way on in. If we get down to where I've got overtime dollar problems, then they'll be May or June of next year. Going down from there, you can go down to, let's see. Drop way on down to 307 communication. There's a $240,000 increase there. However, 60,000 of that will be offset that's being pulled from 317, so it's a net increase of $180,000. And if you go in your book to 307, you'll see that it's broken down. Verizon is $300,000 a year, and our AT&T runs $140,000.
Didn't we, AT&T with the, wasn't there a big, the mayor, or just wasn't there some big increase, 33% increase on AT&T, which is,
Yeah.
that's
The
across the
ambulance
board for the
service.
county?
Yeah.
That's what I was, it's the only question.
Yeah, we got it, we got hit with it, Murfreesboro City, the ambulance service, everybody did.
And there's no other provider but AT&T for.
It's the Metro E-line, is that what it is? Yeah, the Metro, 2 Metro E-lines is what we have.
It's just
It's cost of doing business.
Let me ask you something about the cellular phones.
Yes, sir.
Are we talking about just the phone, or are we talking about a smartphone for all these folks?
No, there's all kinds of phones and air cards and things for the, those things,
What we have, Virgil, Darlene, come on. Command staff has smartphones, because out in the field, we can get our email, we can get some of those communications. Deputies on patrol have just regular, I call them dumb phones, but yet they have the push to talk. Their phones can only call pre-programmed numbers within the sheriff's office, or they can call each other deputy-wise, and Verizon's free. But then it's really and truly the backup. It's the two-way that we have a lot of, and it's because, honestly, our radio system right now, and I know that we're working on it, but it sucks, and it's gonna get somebody killed. You know, Murfreesboro Street, in your zone, I had a deputy out there the other day on a foot pursuit, and I had 6 cars run into emergency traffic because they could not get all, every time he'd get on the radio, it was garbled, nobody could hear anything. And so, to try to get out, you know, and so we've fallen back on a lot of cell phones. You know, naturally, if we have a big disaster and we can't talk, we've got to have some type of communication. So right now, our fallback is a lot of our cell phones.
Well, also, the last 3 years, we've started moving toward the technology that every agency in the state's doing, and through the United States and in this county, to where that we are trying to give our officers the tools they need of interoperability to be able to communicate in other ways rather than just voice. If they're in the field, we can shoot pictures of suspects to them. We can shoot, they can map systems. State warrants, for instance, will go out and use Google to find people. You can also Google to see what the house looks like. I mean, many other things. Also, what's happened is we've evolved into where the state has the Titan system, and we have to push toward that direction. We just, through a grant, had gotten 25 tough notebooks. Those have air cards in them that we have to pay for. Those, in the process, they can automatically shoot a Titans notification, which is your crash report, to the state, but we have other ones that we need to get going. In the budget with the cars, we have X number of MDTs that we're going to include, which is what a tough notebook is. So we're trying to give them the interoperability to communicate through dispatch, through data, and many other options. Also, the vehicle locator system's involved in this, where we can track and pace cars. We can check where they've been all day. We can see how long they've been stopped. If they have an issue, officer safety, we can find them. If they're speeding, we're going to know it. You know, all these particular things. But like the Scoop Patrol, we were having a really bad bleed over on the radios that Scoop Patrol had over on the SROs. That was a serious issue, so our option, Darlene had found some what we call Scoop Patrol phones the sheriff was alluding to. I want to say they're like $10 or $12 a month, I believe. And there's numbers that are pre-programmed in them. That's the only numbers they can use. On top of that, and that was about 78 of those that we purchased. We also in this have, and we've been through enough catastrophic situations that we're preparing the best we can for it, is we have 25 phones that are really cheap, like I think $10 a month, something along that line, for 25 that we keep in. Is that right?
$2 a month.
$2, I'm sorry, correct me, thank you. That's my budget girl over there. But they're there in case something does happen. We keep a certain number of iPhones in dispatch in case our dispatch goes down till we can transfer to 911. So this involves many aspects of us moving toward the technology we need to get to for the officer safety, and also communication-wise. So it's more than voice involved in this. It's an increase in the phone lines. It also includes the cost of the annex building. There's probably a $9,000 or $10,000 increase in some of the cost at the new annex building also. But altogether, just to give you an idea without getting in this too far, unless you want me to, we've got like 274 cell and data phones. We have a large number of data devices out here that, like I said, go along with the AVLs, but also we have iPads, iPhones. These are all mini computers when it gets down to it. Just the same thing you got here. It helps our officers in the field to look up. Our aim is to have a computer-aided dispatch system where our officers can do the reports on the computer, our iPads, our MDTs that we have, and electronically download that. It saves time. You don't have to duplicate typing, and that's what's been great about the Titan system, is it's cut down a lot of redundancy, by doing that. So that's kind of what involves this, and this is not something, this is a cost that's going to be there as far as the air cards, unless something better comes along, and we're researching some of those areas now. With Microsoft has a new system coming out. There's also Google coordinates we're looking at, so if there's a way that we can find to cut back but still get the product we need, then we're gonna do that at the same time. But this is the kind of the cost of technology that you get into for us to get in the 21st century.
And this is something that you all started with the ABLs, started with the ambulance service, started the year before, or actually it started the year I took office. It was a grant that was already perceived. I think it has, what, 40 on it right now?
We have 47.
We have 47 right now on the current cars we have, and actually all the new cars that we get. We're gonna be putting these on the cars. They're the big antennas, they're about like that. You see them on the ambulances, and you'll see them also on the back of our patrol cars now.
What's great about this is recently, the ones that we have up and running, there was a suspect that we were after, and you can actually, without having to ask for 1020s, you can see where the officers are. You can pinpoint them. You can also, we're doing GIS crime mapping, which the county, also works with us on, that we kind of leapfrog off of. But it's a way to document where sex offenders, parolees, probation. You can look at people that have been charged with crimes in the past. If you have a crime in the neighborhood, this all intermingles, and this can be. We have a crime analysis person, Larry Pace, that we just built a server for him. We had the software come in, and along with this data is us shooting out the information as to crime in areas where officers can see in the neighborhood rather than just going through roll call. They can see what's going on in their neighborhoods. It just going to a screen on here and what house has been broke into or DUI arrest or anything like that.
All right, moving right along.
If you go down to 317, there's a page back behind that that's got all the things that are associated with that one item. It's got a lot of it. But that has a reduction of 63,000 from the previous year, which was moved up to 407. So all communication type devices and service are now in 307 and consolidated. If you go down to 339, repair or service of vehicles, I do want to talk about that. 338, I'm sorry, 338.
Thank you.
We'll call you back.
Thanks.
That traditional has been 165,000 for years. Mike Bailey's done a really good job of that. The aging of the fleet of the vehicles, he has asked for more money this year. And in addition to that one, the other let's see, it's 450, right here, man, 453. Those two kind of go hand in hand where he works on all his cars. So one's labor and one's parts. He's asked for an additional 50,000 on both of those, roughly, depending on the number of vehicles that we get. I've already just recently had to move money last month because he ran out of money in both those line items. Because just have to repair some of your car. A lot of repairs. So those numbers are up on those two line items as well. Let's see. We only went up 50,000 on gasoline. We kind of think we've run fairly close on that this year. I think we're going to make it. We've seen some higher prices in gas this past year, but still kind of a gamble. So we're asking for just an additional 50,000 just in case on that. And then you get down to there's a increase in 709 data processing equipment. And with that, and they do back there. And Mr. Bailey's here if y'all have any questions for vehicles at this point in time.
We gotta fix them.
Thanks, sir. So that's for those. Under data processing equipment, you've got an increase of a little over 140,000. This, of course, is to replace all of our, on average, all of our equipment and stuff like that. Any questions on that, I'd be glad to answer. We have Paul Taylor here, who's in charge of that.
What equipment are you talking about replacing? You talking about these tough books? Or are we talking about video cameras, or what are we talking about?
Well, that's why it's detailed here of what we need to replace. And
I do need a minute, will you come in and talk about the SAN solution?
Yes, sir.
And the 10 gigabyte backbone service.
Well, I'll try to put this, on deep speak as possible. The 10 gigabyte backbone, basically what we're doing there is we're taking all the servers and connecting them with a higher bandwidth between each other. So they're able to talk to each other. And where this is important is when your databases are exchanging information, you want those to work much quicker than, let's say, a PC logging into that system. Plus, this backbone has also got to move the large, and we're talking terabytes worth of data that have to be moved around for backup, plus for on-site and off-site. So what the SAN solution does, it builds a redundant system. So if one of our servers fails, then the redundant system kicks in, called a failover system, kicks in and replaces that server in the stack so they continue business as usual. And some of those systems are critical, like CAD, the computer-aided dispatch, and things like such as jail and those kind of
Is
things.
this more of a public safety type of program than versus one for the
The
private
thing,
sector?
part of this is in that, we probably should have said on the front end, a lot of these items in here, a good portion of them have to do with CJIS compliance, and I think y'all heard that before. It's community criminal justice information systems, and we're expected to be audited next year. So some of these things that we've got to have in place to not get a little red mark on us from the FBI.
That's kind of where I was heading when I saw about public
Yeah,
safety.
cybersecurity and those type of.
Like I said, it's redundant information. It also does with medical records, which we call as HIPAA. We're jumping across all kinds of, all the way from criminal justice, which is FBI, to DOD, which has initiated these standards. The Department of Commerce is actually the one that created the mainstay of it. And we're jumping into, of course, the hospitalization, and we carry so much data and delicate information. We've got to make sure we have backups and clear access to them at all times.
And one thing that the state auditors have dinged us on 2 years in a row now is that we don't have off-site. We don't have anything going off-site. Everything's on at the sheriff's office right now. So we've got to do something off-site. So right now we are going to use the 911 center as our off-site. We're wanting to fix our server at the sheriff's office and put another server, a backup server there.
It was basically virtual servers, which means we buy 3 servers and make them act as if they're 6 to 8. And then those servers on the 911 center, if there's a catastrophic failure at the sheriff's office or something goes hard, power outage, whatever, our 911 dispatchers can go to the 911 building, hook in, and continue doing what they need to. And via remote tablets, our medical people can continue dishing out the emergency drugs that need to go to the inmates. And we can continue those critical services that we need to be able to do and protect officers and inmates from harm.
There's an arbitrator system in here that is equal to a custom system. We have found the technology for the arbitrator has evolved into a much better system, more stable system. So what we're going to do is build our own server rather than go and have that contracted out, since we have our IT people. And what we'll have is a dual system with a mass storage unit that has customs, an arbitrator system, and that information will be stored here. We'd like to store that information on, right now I think we're running 10 or 11 terabytes or what?
I have to go look, but it's quite a bit.
But we'd like to keep information on there a little bit over 365 days a year, and as an attorney, you know why. If normally we earmark, if an officer has an event occur, he'll earmark it. It gets recorded and frozen in the system, so you have to store that. That's where the terabytes come in also. And then at the end of that period of storage year, which is usually close to 13 months, it will purge itself. So we've had that system in place for some time. We finally, with the blessings of the Law Enforcement Committee and the Commission, was able to get the in-car camera units, and they've been extremely valuable to us in the process of arrest cases and complaints and those type of things.
Moving right along. Number 716, there's an increase there of, let's see, roughly about 90,000. Several vest expirations, but the big thing is the Colt M4s for the SRO, all SROs at all schools. $1,000 a piece, so we like to know about SROs with a rifle. And then last but not least, under 718, there's vehicle purchases. We're requesting 45 patrol vehicles, 4 transport vehicles, 7 unmarked units, and 4 vehicles for warrants. You will have behind that.
Unmarked vehicles are detective vehicles.
Yeah. At the very end, you'll see a page here that also talks about idling miles per car.
Yes. Got this from Ford, 2007 and up. We can actually go into our patrol cars and check and see what the idling hours are. Pretty much for every idling hour, it says in their handbook that it equals, and it should be in your book, to 33 miles. We've done this to several of our cars. Let's say roughly, let's say they have 100,000 miles. Well, with this, you equivalent on that engine 200,000. So really and truly, you can almost take your mileage and double it. So if we've got a car with 200,000 miles, it's equivalent to your car that you drive to 400,000 miles.
One thing I agree with you on the vehicles on, and just the point, some other folks on here, when they're going emergency traffic, there's a whole lot more liability, and that's the difference between any other department besides our EMA, fire, sheriffs, and EMS. Those vehicles are running emergencies, so the wear and tear on them, if we don't have good vehicles, we're negligent. So,
Well,
and we got that from the county attorney on that tanker. I got a letter in his hand that said, if we don't watch out on this, you know.
Right here, you'll see,
It's the same thing with these cars.
speaking of negligence, or whatever you wanna say, I've got a list back here of every car that needs to be replaced, the mileage on it. These are my recommendation to replace these cars. Because what I have to do, I have to inform you. Naturally, I live with whatever decision you make when it comes to money. But I'm informing you that these cars, we have deemed them not to be safe to drive. Now, if we have to drive them, we have to drive them, but we need to replace these vehicles. Last year, we only got $100,000 in our budget for vehicles. On average, we need 30 vehicles every year to stay current, just to keep moving ahead, because if we stop like we did last year, we actually fall behind, because everything else is going forward. So when we stop, we're actually falling behind every year, because we drive roughly over 2.5 million miles a year. We have to. That's the nature of our job.
Are those idling miles or those driving miles?
These are just the
Driving miles. We drive over 2 million miles a year.
Well, what's on your sheets back here? Does that include your idling?
No, that's just the
No,
driving miles.
these are
Those
just driving
those
miles.
numbers right off the odometer.
These are our cars. This is the person that has the car and their car number.
Yeah, they don't fluff them at
I ain't trying to be picky enough, but you said all these here you want to
all.
replace?
Not all of those.
I was
no,
fixing to
no,
say,
it's
'cause
just the
they're-
ones that are grayed in.
Yeah, just the ones that are gray.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought you actually had the list of just the ones you wanted to
I thought
replace.
it's still in here, you got 8,000 miles on it.
No.
Want to be
This
sure.
is every car.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We had another
Great.
list that was just every car.
Oh.
He gave you
That way
every
you can
car
see what we
here.
do
You're
have.
talking about gray over here in mileage.
Yeah.
Yes.
That way you do see, we have some that, you can see we have several that are, 80,000, 60, 70,
Okay.
80,000 that are approaching 100,000 miles. And you also see we still have.
Normally, we
have
try to
few
pull
new
a
cars,
car
a few miles.
from patrol and send it on down the line at around 100 to 125, no more than 125,000. That car is going to school resource officers, going to warrants, civil warrants, criminal warrants. It's being passed down. But we like to try to pull those cars because of the nature of them. And I think whenever we did the 5-year plan, I showed y'all the A-frame suspension from one of our cars that only had 120,000 miles on it. Luckily, that officer was in a parking lot backing up when the front end just dropped to the ground on him, and he was not driving emergency traffic. Because imagine what that would have done if he would have been driving emergency traffic. We'd have picked him up at the state line.
All right.
And then the last item on the list is 790. We need to redo the vault storage system in our vault, in the evidence vault. So we had a couple of companies come in and kind of give us some initial bids and some ideas on what to do. So we come up with a figure of 62,600 roughly. CID division would like a file management system for when they move into the new building. We're, got all kinds of new office furniture and dividers and cubicles and everything else, but one thing they don't have is a lot of file storage space, and they just haven't had that down for the years. We've been kind of making do with what we got.
And all the new furniture that they've got over there roughly is what I got from the state. I went down there and myself and some trustees and got cubicles and desks and everything else I could pilfer from the state.
That's it in a nutshell for sure.
Explain two line items to me, what it is actual after 6 months or even what you asked for. Item 210, line item 210, and line item 399.
Well, 399 is, that's a typo number one under the actual 6 months. It's not $500,000.
Okay.
Everybody fix that, that's my fault.
And what about the unemployment compensation?
Unemployment, Lisa made us put that line item in our budget in 2011 budget year. Because I guess before the county just did it as a whole under Lisa's office, and Lisa put that in every county budget.
I got 79,000, it's supposed to be $7,960.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just talking about.
That's my two thumbs typing away, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, that helps my mind a little bit.
These spreadsheets get awful complicated at 3 in the morning.
I thought you were asking about why we had that line item here. Sorry about that.
That's my fault.
Mentioned both of them. Okay.
Anybody else got any questions on the sheriff park budget?
Does every person get a vehicle?
No, not every
Ones
person.
that aren't, like,
I don't have one.
No, aren't, okay.
I took his car away whenever we took office. There are most of our post-certified officers do have take-home cars.
Like the SUVs and the vans, and do those go home too, or do those stay on
The
site?
SUVs, probably ICE, the interstate guys, they take theirs home. Now the vans, no. The transport vans, paddy wagons, no, they stay at the SO because naturally we never know when we're gonna have to go to a house and arrest everybody. So.
Right.
Getting back to drug enforcement, I don't know if this is possible, but the drug enforcement department or division is intermingled with all the rest. It's mixed in. Any way to pull it out? You say you had ideas and you want to do this and that. Is there any way to pull it out and have a separate figures on that? I don't know. You said if I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to tell the public that you pulled it. So, can you pull it?
Yeah.
Can you pull it and let us see what that is as a separate
It's
item from
positions.
everything else?
It's all positions. It's 5 positions. Right now, I've absorbed the other 2 from when I took office. I'm absorbing 2 more, and so that leaves 3 positions. Right now, these are 2 positions on patrol, and I've absorbed 2 other positions. So right now, I'm 4 less deputies on patrol. So that it's all positions.
It's just a question. I'd like to see it. I'd just like to see it. We're talking.
Well, it's actually in the back of your budget. I've already done it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me where.
If you look under budget 54150, which is drug enforcement, way at the back,
The very last budget.
and you look at the amended budget numbers for 2011-12 and 2012-13, you'll see the salaries in there for detectives and sergeants. And all I did was I've taken those out for that budget for this year and moved them to the sheriff's office budget.
I'm not sure I'm looking at the right page, so
Uh,
tell me if I am or not
yeah.
and point it out to me. Okay.
54150, yeah. There you go.
So one thing I remember from a few years ago is, that was discussed, is the drug dealers are getting smarter and they're not carrying large amounts of cash. And that's where your cash, because you can recover all the drugs you want to, but that doesn't put money into the drug enforcement fund. It's the cash you seize. And if you're not seizing cash, it's not sustainable, and they're not carrying cash anymore because they're tired of losing it, so, you know, that's, they're getting smarter, I mean, you know.
When you seize vehicles and stuff, you sell that, that money goes in this account?
Say that again.
When you seize vehicles or equipment, whatever, that money, when you sell that, that money goes back into here?
It goes back into the drug fund. We're fixing, to have a big auction. We hadn't sold anything in, I'd say probably a year. Trying to get stuff worked out, straightened out within our evidence area. And so, we're hopefully, I think around June, the middle of June, we're gonna have a big sheriff's office auction and sell a whole bunch of stuff. We've got TVs, we've got cars, we've got radio systems, come one, come all. Just bring a pocket full of money.
If I had it, I would.
Is that an auction, or is it?
It's an auction. We have to, by law, we have to auction off the stuff we seize, and that money goes back into the drug fund. And actually, one thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about, and this is going back into the general fund, but when we do prostitution stings, and we've been finding a lot more of that, and we don't focus a lot on that. Our resources can't handle it. But that money goes back into the general fund. There are some cases that we do, the detectives, that money goes back into the general fund. So, I mean, we're generating money all over the place when it comes to certain cases, but some money goes to the general fund, some goes to the drug fund. Depends on what kind of case it is.
Is there any questions on the first part of the sheriff's department budget? If there's not any, we'll move on to the next part.
Let me just kind of ask one follow-up question. We talked at length about cars, and I remember when you presented your 5-year plan back in cold weather. That you were talking about replacing 30 cars a year. That's your goal, is that correct?
Yes.
30 cars a year, and we've got a total of how many cars? Patrol cars.
Patrol cars, was it 275.
And and our goal is to replace 30 of the 275 a year.
Yes. Or actually, no, 25 of the 275. That's patrol cars. That's not detective vehicles, admin vehicles, other vehicles. We're roughly thinking 5 vehicles a year when it comes to admin and detective vehicles. So that's where you get the 30. 25 patrol cars that patrol officers use, 5 for general detectives and admin.
You said that was 275 patrol cars.
Yes.
At 30 a year?
Roughly, we're saying 25 patrol cars, but then you got add in about 5 vehicles on average for general detectives and or admin.
I was doing the math just for sheer entertainment, and that's a 11-year replacement cycle on a patrol car. If you replace 25 for the year, 275 cars, it's 11 years. So
Well, you can actually see.
I don't know if you got that. That's a long time for a replacement for patrol cars, what I'm getting at. I don't know if that's.
We started the program back in 92, 93 with Commissioner Bullen helped introduce it. And at that time, we had set a standard of how many needed to be replaced over those years. And about 6 or 7 years ago, we got away from that standard. Now, there was one year that we got 15 people on a grant, and we had an agreement that we'd take the 15 people, but not the cars. And that kind of threw us out of whack, but we were okay at that point. I mean, as the numbers show, this has been a good program to keep the cars lasting longer. We've got the size of the fleet also is vehicles that are used by transport, court officers, SROs. You know, a lot of these cars have 170, 200,000 miles on them. That's up in here. So the main focus of the sheriff's saying was replace, this bulk of 100 cars down here in a timely manner, so you're not running, a super fatigued car on chassis in 1033.
I mean, you look, one of the SROs, his car right now, 2004 Crown Vic, he's running, when we did this, 223,000 miles on that one car. You look at the next car there, 216,000, 209,000, 198,000, and it just, the list goes down all the way down to our newest car. So we put miles on cars.
How much are these vehicles averaging in cost?
roughly about 50,000, the new ones, because naturally, all the new ones go to patrol, because we recycle, we send all the old cars down. So the new cars that go to patrol are getting naturally this year, everything's getting brand new equipment, because we're going to a new vehicle. So we're not.
It won't recycle.
It won't recycle. Used to, we could do the screens, we could do certain things.
When you say 50,000, that's everything.
That's
Lights,
everything.
cameras, AVL,
That's
computers,
everything.
Everything.
That's everything.
And your number on your vehicle is 45, and then you had 4 unmarked detective, that original number, what was that again?
It's right here.
Yeah, it's in there right there. Towards the very, very back of that, 718. 718.
I know that, please believe me, I know that technology is something that it's easy to get behind on. And I also know that technology changes rapidly. You know, the modern laptop that we buy for our homes right now is probably outdated in 3 or 4 years. And it's probably the same with you guys when it comes to technology. And Virgil started spitting out a bunch of acronyms that, you know, begins to confuse a soul like me. But you talk about laptops that are in the patrol cars, then you talk about cell phones for something and another smartphone for something else. How many communication devices does a patrol officer have when he's in his car?
When he's in the car, he should just have his radio, his cell phone, and right now you have his computer. So it's 3.
But weren't we talking about a bunch of other things?
Well, we don't have computers in our car right now. We started this direction 2 years ago through a grant, and we went through this with the committees and with the AVLs and those type of things. But what we're looking at is again, like I said, without throwing a lot of information at it, it's just simple as the fact we're trying to give the officers the technology that everybody else is using to better do the job in the street better. If they're out of the car, they don't have the MDT with them. The difference in a tough notebook and the computer you're talking about, if you drop your computer, you better go buy a new one.
That's right.
I mean, that's just the truth.
Or if you leave it in your car on, it'll overheat and just die. These tough books don't.
But to show you how we're trying to save money, we're running 41 Dell computers right now that are home. We got them donated to us from the hospital, but they're not gonna last long. So we're gonna start replacing those, for instance, we purchased a car that's figured in, and they've got this unit in the car that you can do mobile dispatch and a number of other things and force information out that you really don't need to say over the computers. But it's just a better tool to do a better job with the crime that's out there and the information that needs to flow. We get constant Homeland Security updates for the Fusion Center. We've got people that have bolos on the interstate. So I mean, I could go on and on without just filling your ears up. But these are things that it's not a toy; it's a tool. That's what we're like. It's no difference in the type of weapon we carry.
Didn't indicate that it was a toy at all.
Well,
Yeah,
one
but
thing.
I know.
But I was a little overwhelmed. Maybe I was a lot overwhelmed
It's
because
very
you kept
overwhelming.
talking about iPads, and I'm seeing iPads and
That's what you got
computers.
right there.
I know, but that's what I was asking.
Yes.
You know, what does a deputy that's on patrol have in his car? And I was thinking.
He doesn't
you
have
may
an iPad.
Okay.
No. Who's using who we have iPads for? Your state warrant officers, for instance. It's according to what they need. Is detectives have iPads. They go to the crime scene with information. They can run information off of it. There's a lot of things to do. So each unit has different needs of different technology. That's why we have so many different types of phones and stuff.
And they went to the iPads a couple of years ago when that was all the only thing you had out there. You didn't have the Mac or the Windows-based tablets. So they went to them back then. One thing is, it is very overwhelming. I've talked to sheriffs all across the country, and the leap just in the past 3 years of technology for law enforcement. But then you've also got the federal government coming down on sheriffs and chiefs across the country to get CJIS compliant. And then you got the state of Tennessee coming out with this Titan program, and we all have to be using Titan by next year, which we're ahead of it because we can. We're a very fortunate county. There's some other counties that are not as fortunate as us. But they have to be in compliant with this by next year. So there's lots of unfunded mandates coming down, and we're trying to get ahead of some of those, but then we're also trying to get our officers the tools that they could better use in their job to do a better job for the public.
Is there any more questions on the first part of the budget? Mr. Shaker?
Two things. One, just explain to me, for the uniforms, 451. I thought when we went a couple of years ago to these new uniforms, that in the long run it was gonna cost us less. But I see the same price and then slightly up this year. And I
Because
figured that-
naturally, you go running through the woods, you rip them apart. You have wear and tear, but the regular sitting, they don't
So
fall
you're
apart.
saying you would have needed more if you hadn't gone to the new uniforms, is what you're saying?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay. All right.
The main reason why we went to a new uniform was get away from polyester, because polyester likes to burn people. Polyester, if you go to a car fire, and I have done it, I had to watch a guy die because I would not get near him because I was wearing a polyester uniform, and the car was fully engulfed. So we switched because of OSHA. It was part of it. Now, at that time, when we switched, I wanted to go to a green and tan uniform to get in line with the Tennessee Sheriff's Association because they're pushing it upon everybody. And we are now surrounding Rutherford County. Everyone is in the green and tan uniforms. We are not. We are going to slowly start to transition, but hopefully not till later in the, coming future to a green and tan. When we start replacing these uniforms, we're going to be switching the color, but we're going to do it slowly and try to use these all up.
My second question is, I guess it would be in line with item 112. What is it? We have, is it 35 SROs right now and some supervisors? Isn't that correct? I'm close
Yes.
on that anyhow. Okay, so, well, to me, we've got 10 schools plus one coming on. Okay, and in here it is for the high school that's coming on. Why would we want to have SROs in 36 schools and not 46 schools? I mean, I'm saying that's what we got them now, basically,
Yes.
with the new high school. 36
Y'all-
schools covered, and
Y'all approved a concept to
I know, I'm
do
getting
the
to the
others.
point.
Okay.
I wanna hear y'all tell me.
Why we
I-
need 'em?
Yeah, I mean, okay, and I've talked, asked you, I've looked up on the internet and all. I would just like to let everybody that watches this, I don't know if they can sit through
I'll let
3
Barry-
nights of
I'll
it.
let Barry come up here, but I'll
Okay.
start off by saying that I spoke to the chief up in Sandy Hook. I met him at the Sheriff's Association, and his number one thing was, if he would have had an SRO in that school, he could have stopped the threat, or at least saved some of those kids' lives. But because that their response time was what it was over by the time they got there. There's been some information come out. I don't know what all has come out because I don't get a chance to watch the news. But I know some information that they could not have stopped the threat because they were so far away. If we have an SRO in every school, not to say we're going to save lives or we're going to save every kid's life, but at least we may stop the threat before it gets to the other 30 children that it could have stopped because we were trying to respond. Just like last week, we had a situation of a suicidal man here in the city, went out to Elam Mill at the slab, came to the county, left the city, came to the county, became our problem. We started a manhunt on, what was the name of the road? West Gum Road. Well, then somebody over at the school said, hey, we saw him behind the school. Well, I don't believe that SR was there, but they were getting there because we didn't have one there. So then Captain and all their resources, because we were going over to do the manhunt, they were on the way to lock down the school and all that. If we had somebody there, they could have already started initiating. They're coming anyway, but they could have already started initiating before we got there. So we put 2 schools on lockdown but they share an SRO. So we could have had those resources there because we spent hours looking for this guy. I had the THP helicopter in the air for probably 4 hours looking for this guy with a shotgun.
I want you to know, I've asked a lot of people what they feel about SROs. And the people that are in the schools that I've talked to, they feel safe. Whether they are or not, they have that reassurance that there's a possibility that if something happens, somebody's gonna take care of them. Okay? Parents that aren't in the schools, but they have kids in the schools, feel the same way because they have a chance. And that's what I'm getting at, and that's what, well, that Captain Henderson,
We've got 44 SROs currently. We have 6 sergeants, 2 lieutenants, and 1 captain. The 6 sergeants have their own school. 2 lieutenants are subs. So when you say that we've got all this supervision out there, those supervisors are in a school. The 2 lieutenants act as subs. And with 43 officers in the school, with court, with people being out sick, all that, they're busy all the time. And when I have to, and I don't mind a bit when I have to, I'll sub as well. We've got 1 individual on FMLA. He's going to be out for a while that we have to cover his school, and we're on a rotation to do that. So I don't want you to think that with the way supervision is set up in the SRO division that you've got supervisors roaming constantly that are not covering the school. They're doing 2 jobs. They're manning their own school, plus they're supervising their guys. So when you break it down like that, I want to make sure that you understand when you break it down like that, we don't have a bunch of supervision out here waiting for something to happen like it happened at Buchanan the other day. So those are the current numbers that we have right now.
Okay, well, my other, it's just, tell us an example of a typical day. I know it's not gonna happen every day, things are gonna be different, but just
That's
let
right.
people know
An
what they do.
example.
And, can you separate the high school and the elementary? Because they gotta be some different things there.
Yes, and I wrote down some things that could or couldn't happen in a typical day, and this applies to the entire SO division, but it mainly applies to elementary school officers. Teaching class, patrol the campus, deal with parents, teachers, students on law enforcement or any kind of personal issues, motorist assist, serve petitions, assist with other agencies with investigations, appear in court, conflict resolutions, events such as the Special Olympics, torch runs, anything like that they can help with. Of course, make arrests as needed, respond to Raptor hits, which Don Odom thinks that that's so important. He's working on, and y'all will probably hear about this, he's working on getting a Raptor system for every school or every county school. And the Raptor system not only serves the main purpose of child sex offender registry in case somebody comes on campus, but it also can do whatever that school wants it to as far as child custody issues if a parent's not supposed to be on campus, anything like that. Assist with clubs, archery club for example, assist with special needs kids, and respond to medical issues. And that's just touching the tip of the iceberg of what they do on a regular basis. And I printed off the statistics for the elementary schools in case you wanted to go over that, just to see kind of what the past 3 years has been like for them. And it's too much to go over in this meeting, but if you want to see those, you're welcome to go through them at your own leisure.
Conflict resolution, would that be like something to do with bullying or something like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not only bullying, if something happens in a neighborhood the night before, patrol's really good about getting that report to us. They'll put the school at the top of the report, and then when I get those in the morning, I'll call that individual and go, look, you had a domestic at this house, you had these kids fighting over here, it might bleed over to school, just to let you know, and they'll go make contact with those kids and make sure that everything's fine at school when they do that.
I got a question with when you have ball games and stuff, at Riverdale High School, and the elementary school SROs, do they help out on those ball games? Because if you were the SRO at Christiana and you had a troublemaker and he's now at Riverdale, he would know who he is and he might be able to deal with him. Is that kind of how it?
That's one of the things, and you can ask the principals that hire the SROs for those. They like having SROs work those games, as well as the SROs there at the feeder schools work them, just because of the relationship that they already have with the kids, and they know who they are. You know, you can break up a fight easier if you can call somebody by name, as opposed, you know, just to going in and grabbing the biggest one first. So,
Well, and speaking on that, when I was out at Daniel McKee, Riverdale, they requested me to work all their basketball games, because naturally it's in the middle of the wintertime and all that. Even the football games, because naturally, with being at Daniel McKee, I knew all the kids that were there that were not supposed to be on their campus because of those ball games, because they were my students. So when I saw those guys, then we'd kick them out. Same thing at Oakland. When I would work, you know, ball games at Oakland, and at Siegel I'd work a few, but mainly it was Oakland and Riverdale, and that was the reason why.
My point in asking all this is, I can't say if we have SROs in 36 schools, that we should have them in 46 schools, is what I'm getting at. Is that, I mean, why do you deprive students at 10 schools, you know, of having a full-time SRO is what I'm getting at.
And that's what the biggest thing since all this has come up, the biggest question I've had thrown to me by parents is, why do they get one full-time and mine is part-time? You know, and parents, I've only had one person, and that was at Hardee's one day, disagree with putting SROs in all the schools. Everybody else is adamant about if their taxes had to go up, they don't mind it for the SROs.
If we put SROs in every school, or we fund it July 1st, what's the target date? December before we could get them in every school? Or?
No,
I'd say more realistically, hopefully middle of January. It just depends on the number from within, the training that they have. We went through, Sheriff allowed us to go through the interview process just in case this does happen, so we can kind of be ahead of the game. Right now, according to the list that we have, there are 2 people that can walk right into it, former SROs, that can walk right into the training. The other 11 have to go through training. The ones from our department will go through a series of training, but those that are from outside the division or outside the department not only will have to go through Sheriff's Department training, not only have to go through SRO training, but we'll have to go through the Sheriff's Department FTO program as well. So that's, I don't know what patrol is, 15 weeks right now. So organizing a school, we'll try to host as many as we can so we can teach it to lower the cost, but you know, there's logistics that go into that. We don't want to miss school. Our instructors can't miss school to teach those classes. So it's, best case scenario, middle of January.
For everything.
For everything.
There might be a couple that get done a little bit before, but everything.
And that's best. That's if we don't have people sick, you know. So.
And that's something we had discussed at the previous meetings, and
That's why at the previous meetings, I was trying to get them back in February so they would be ready to go come the new school year.
So, do you need a motion on this?
Yes, do y'all want me to put them in our budget? Is that what, I need to know that.
Well, you may find out here in.
Okay, never mind. I'll sit back.
All right. On the sheriff's department budget versus the jail budget, let's do them separate. Let's do the sheriff's department right now. Is there anything that somebody wants to make a motion on this budget?
Just the bottom line. This coming year, your proposed budget is how much of an increase over the current year?
Right now, it's $4 million.
Yeah.
That's without the
4.8.
without the SROs.
4.8.
4.8.
I'll make a motion. It's just like the ambulance when I want to look at it longer, I'm sure. You know, when we're talking the increase, I know one that's can come out up with that answer in an hour. And I would also, as we take this under advisement till the next meeting, we also look at the SROs coming in to fill in all the schools. And I think with what he's got in the budget, that we're talking roughly that first year, it was like 600,000 or so for just the personnel.
No, well.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's gonna be in the ballpark on that, is what I'm getting at. And, but just keep that in mind as you look at it. And so that's my motion.
I'll second.
All right.
Can I get your motion again? Are you forwarding it to budget? What was
Yeah,
it?
forward, no.
Take it
I'm saying
under
for us
advisement.
To take it under advisement to look at, to make the true recommendation next month, and to look at funding for the SROs for all the schools, the county schools.
I
Do
think
we
we've
have
gotta be-
time?
No, we don't, I've gotta go to, budget and finance, what, next week?
Next week, next Thursday.
Next Thursday, this is gotta go to budget and finance.
We're not talking about that. You know, we don't have that much time.
And two, the mayor hadn't really had a chance to.
My recommendation will be made at the budget meeting. You can send this forward without a recommendation.
Okay. That's my motion then.
Your motion is to send it forward without a recommendation.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, but if, all right,
I would-
if that's the case, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, I don't mind you telling me if I'm wrong, but if that's the case, why don't we just go ahead and, this right here, if we're gonna do the same thing on this, then there's no sense us sitting here another 3 hours.
Well,
I mean, I'm just,
there is one thing we can also give to the chairperson of the budget or to the mayor's office, anything we come up with in the next week that we want to see changed.
Okay.
Because we've heard it from the horse's mouth tonight.
I'd like to offer an amendment to that motion, is to add the SROs in there so that the budget committee can then decide from there. Add the additional elementary SROs and let the budget committee decide at that process, because they'll know the numbers better than we do, as far as if it's
Right.
kind of going along with Commissioner Stevens' original motion in the county commission. If it doesn't go to the budget committee, they never looked at it, so.
okay, Mayor.
You might could do that like they've done the jail. Line item 160 is new detention officers. You might put a separate line item so we can see the exact cost of that, at least the base cost of the salary.
We're doing the jail second, aren't we?
Yeah, but he's saying do it with this one for
Don't just put
SRO.
it into the current SRO so you can see the differentiation of it. Things in the dollars.
I mean,
Right.
You got an amount?
No, they don't.
Well, no, yeah, we do. We gave it to y'all back,
In the front of your
about
books,
$1.2 million, wasn't it?
it's
No, but that was with,
in the front of your binders is the same
Signs.
presentation we
That
had
was
back
the
in
one-
January.
that was with vehicles and all that.
Yeah.
Right there. See, but you got vehicles
But
in a
it's
separate.
itemized in there for you. This is the same
No, this-
presentation. we had.
687,000?
that's just for
$890.
the, that's just pay the positions, then you've got
And the
equipment,
and
and then vehicles, and training.
the vehicles are right here in the budget, aren't they?
No, they're not for the SROs.
Well,
No,
they
that's
weren't
gonna
gonna
be
get
in-
them anyhow. You were gonna give the new ones to your patrol and this type thing, and,
Yeah,
and,
naturally, if
and the
you-
other ones were going down to
If
the,
you put 11 more people on, that means I've gotta pull 11 more cars out of patrol, so I need 11 more cars to go into
Okay.
patrol.
well, right now, according to what you asked for, you're gonna pull almost 60 out of commission
Yes.
right now. So, what I'm saying is that you got enough for the SROs.
We'll make it work. I'm not gonna sit here and argue.
What's the bottom line on the SROs?
It's around 2.2 million, is that what it is?
1.4.
1.4.
Yeah,
And in front of your sheet
but,
there.
but
And that's the high
So you don't
note,
add
high
those- you don't
amount.
add those
You don't add those
no,
two
but
together?
subtract, no.
Total
That's a
cost. Total, it says total cost.
But it's really, to me, it's not the vehicles, because they got 60 that they're gonna do something with.
Yeah, we've already had all of
You
them.
don't have 60.
Yeah, we've
unless
already
you buy
done
60.
this.
Well, I know, but that's the way the budget's set up now is, I mean, what we're forwarding.
Doug, would you accept his amendment in
Yeah,
your original budget?
I'll accept that,
I'll
yes.
accept it in my
Okay.
second, so we can do away with the amendment, if that's
Okay.
all right,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. There's a motion second on the floor, okay? Does everybody understand the motion on the floor?
Is it the amended, is it amendment we're voting on or what?
Included it.
It's included.
What's
Can you
that?
read it for us?
The SROs are included with this budget that we're giving no recommendation to that's going to budget.
Right.
We just wanna make sure budget sees
The whole big picture.
the whole picture of what it would cost to fund the other 11 SROs. And since we'd all already voted to do that, I that's why I'm in favor of us looking at it at budget too.
We're not voting to approve anything, we're just voting to send it to budget, basically for them to look at. Yes, ma'am.
Forward the account 54110 budget to the budget committee with no recommendation, but add SROs at 1.4 million with the budget committee to decide after they have the numbers, but add as a new separate line item.
It's actually, well, just for clarification, it's 1.45964 is the amount on that page, if you need the exact dollar.
They round them.
All right. We understand the motion on the floor. All right. Call roll.
Commissioner P.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. You know,
Before we do that, it's just simple math. And once again, it's simple math, but if we include if we were to fully fund and also hire the additional SROs, we're looking at somewhere close to a 34% increase in your budget from one year to the next. That's what we're looking at. Right.
Says you, I hadn't figured that part of it out.
I mean,
My job is to tell you the needs,
It's gone from,
and that's what our
it's gone
needs
from
are.
19 million up to 24 million plus 1.5 for the SROs. So it's
What's the
simple.
dollar amount on the 3% pay raise? Do we know that?
That'd be
If we took
roughly
that
about
out, what
$500,000.
It's a few, couple $100,000, $200,000 to $300,000.
I'm just asking for some type of confirmation on that. You've got almost $24 million versus a little over $19 million. So that's $5 million, right? You add another $1.5 million for SROs. You got a $6.5 million increase versus a $19 million budget. Simple math, that's 34%. 34% increase.
That's correct.
Okay, that's just what I needed to know, thank you. I guess I needed to know it.
It was about the same increase for the ambulance service at 1.47 million on a $10 million budget, so.
all right, we're on the sheriff on the budget.
That'd be 14%.
The largest thing in our budget on that was vehicles. You gotta have them.
All right, we're moving on to the,
Onto the jail.
Everybody's asking for more.
So notable increases for the jail, we're asking for an additional $50,000 in overtime pay on 187. You know, this year we had issues with that already. You move down to maintenance and repair buildings, number 335, the famous 335 line item. We're gonna take that from $250 up to $335,000. This will include maintenance though on that building that we're acquiring here shortly.
And you can see it, if you go back here, you can kind of see the details.
Yeah, the breakdowns on those, like on the other budget, are back there as well. Let's see. Maintenance repair of equipment, 336, there's an increase there. It was just additional equipment for the detention facility. The next item was get down to other contracted services, that's Dr. Rudd's line item that had an increase of $180,000 in it, and that's the year 2 increase of his contract.
He gets a 5% increase.
Of the 5%.
What line item you talking about there?
3,399.
Okay.
He has it built in to get a 5%
Yeah.
pay increase.
And his lawsuits have come down to just about nothing. I don't understand. He's way down. Yeah, knock on wood. He's doing a fantastic job. And drop on down to 707. Notable increase. There's a list in your book of all the proposed things that need to be repaired at the jail still. Would you like to go for me?
If you want me to go by one, I'll do that.
Then at the end, we've given you guys some reports before from TCI and, what's that one? TCI and CTAS.
CTAS and the Department of Justice.
And DOJ. Needing,
Oh, this one?
oh, both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get down to
So-
160.
Yeah.
Department of Justice, CTAS, and the grand jury reports have all come back saying that we need additional 52 officers. So we put it in this budget. I got a feeling y'all are gonna axe it, but I've really gotta fight for one position out of, I need all of them according to them and to cover us legally. That's one reason, hence the attorney here, in case you need to ask him the legality part of that. But you'll see it on 115 underneath it, a PREA coordinator. And if you see, look in the very back of your pack, Prison Rape Elimination Act of 2008. And it goes through, I don't know if y'all got all the standards. I've got a big packet here. I think that you've got a thing in the back here that says PREA coordinator.
You were given a job description, that's what one. And then the zero, it's the.
Federally mandated back in 2008. That if you have somebody, and we had a person the other day who said he was being abused by his cellmate. So guess what? We have to call in detectives, we have to call in people, we've got to offer them phone numbers, we've got to do whatever, we've got, according to this.
So this is gonna be the detective for the inmates in the jail, basically. They're investigating.
He becomes the investigator in the jail. He also deals with all of our statistics, and also because naturally we're fixing to be classified as a mega jail because of our population. So we're mandated to have one. Naturally, I'd like to have the others. I think I kind of know what's going to happen there, but my job is to ask. Therefore, whenever y'all do what you do, the liability has now been placed on y'all.
Well, I don't have a problem with those other positions.
Actually, I'm gonna be quiet and we'll talk about the PREA person before I talk about the other 52 jailers.
Guy Goff, he can talk to you if you want to questions, talk about the PREA. He has studied PREA backwards, forwards. He sleeps with the book in his hand. He has to. Any questions? Being none,
All right.
we'll move on.
With the 52 jailers, I read that CTAS report and it talked about direct supervision, and the jail wasn't built for direct supervision, but we're housing the worst of the worst other than death row. And we got murderers in there.
The jail was actually built for direct supervision. We are actually doing it indirect because we don't have the staffing to do direct.
Is there, with your jail classification system, is there a way that we could, I just don't see funding 52 positions, I just don't see, Is there any way we could figure out which floors could be direct supervised and which floors could not be through the classification system, to where the county is not
Right now,
hit right here on the front end with everything instead of,
the way that we are, I mean, right now, we've got roughly 14 females sleeping on the floor. The males, we don't have as bad, because naturally when the boilers went out, I sent roughly 100 inmates to the state. So we got rid of the males. Or we would have probably 50 of those sleeping on the floor right now. We don't have, right now, we are classifying our guys roughly in pretrial, sentence misdemeanor, and sentence felon. And then you have your medical unit, and then you have your segregation unit. And that's why I send y'all emails all the time, and you can actually see what our population stats are, even by floor. And you'll see some floors, the pods may only have 18 people in it. That's because that's maybe the segregation unit. I can't put other people in that unit. So that unit, instead of having 50 people in it, can only have whoever qualifies to be in that unit. Same thing with medical. I can tell you that we have 2 Alpha Pod that is our medical unit, and it's about ready to overflow. Dr. Rudd had planned on being here tonight to talk to you. He will come probably next month to let you know kind of the future of medical of inmates, and it's going to scare you. But you know, that pod may have 1 inmate in it. It may have 60 inmates in it, because that's deemed our medical pod. And so we can't just move people around and put regular people in there. Then you also have your protective custody pod, where we have to keep these people away from the general public, because they are your baby rapers, your murderers, these are the people that want to be in protective custody, and it is our job. We have to protect these people. If they get harmed in our custody, when they just walk in and go, you know what, I want to go in PC. We have to put them in PC. We take them into PC. If they get hurt while they're in PC, we've got a lawsuit, because we failed to protect them when they requested it. I don't make up the rules. I just have to follow the rules and the laws that are set forth. You know, a lot of times people ask me, well, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? I have to follow the rules and the laws that are set forth for me to operate. So that's one reason why we are really and truly at the capacity that we are in our facility. If we could just move everybody and just everybody get along, it would be great. We'd have some more space. But right now, I think we're running at 90% capacity. And if you ask any jail expert, they'll tell you 85% capacity, you're full, because then you get to a point where you can't say that Billy, Bob, and John get into a fight. You got to move them around to some place where they don't have other incompatibles. So there's only so much room to move them around, and you got other people, that are in there that know these 2 people, and so you've got to have room. And we're getting back. Well, this time last year we didn't have any room.
Right. Any other questions on that?
Yeah. This sheet here, I'm having a hard time understanding it. Can you run through these bottom lines before we go, if you would?
Somebody had trouble with their math. Well, the stuff over here is our department totals.
What do you
that
mean,
you'll
department
see,
totals?
Like under.
Is it pulled out of one of these other columns?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
The sheriff approved column is the budget
Okay.
that we're requesting for the year.
Okay.
When you go to the department totals, that is everything minus payroll.
Okay.
And then everything else that you see, the detention, food, equipment, DP miscellaneous, those are just our various department budgets that we have that we break down internally.
Well, if you add up the sheriff approved in 2013, 2014, it doesn't come near the bottom total that you have down there.
There's no payroll.
Payroll's
Oh,
80%.
you left that off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Payrolls are roughly,
Yeah.
let's say 75 to 80% of our
We're
entire
we're
budget.
majority payroll.
Our biggest cost on both sides of our budget is payroll.
That's payroll.
So the bottom line is 13,105,000. That doesn't include payroll.
No, that includes, the 13 million includes payroll. But if you go over to the department
Oh,
totals,
no,
it says 8
no, I'm
million.
saying the sheriff approved 2013, 2014.
Mhm.
That one,
Mhm.
it doesn't add up to 13,105,000.
Well, then Excel's got a problem, because that's the one totaling it up. I'll have to
Well-
go back and double check.
Your 2012 budget was almost 14
14
million, and this was
million, yeah.
13.1.
And everything I look in 2013-14 is going up. I mean, you could just round off with
I'll
the
have to go back
millions
and look.
there.
Maybe I've got a typo in the formula somewhere. I'll have to
They
go
do
back
have
and
a
look.
point. I see what
Okay.
you're talking about there.
That's the reason I was asking for some explanation, because I couldn't, if
Fair
you
enough.
hire 52 additional people, then you got $1 million less in that
Well,
budget.
yeah, we had recently gone back and broken out, something different on the,
189
well,
went down from 4.8 to 500.
532,000, but I may not have gone back and added up the ones at the top, so I'll go back and double check that. I'll fix that.
So we really don't know
We had a
what,
lot of last minute changes, so.
we really don't know what
I may
the
have- I may have
figure
a
is
formula-
then,
I may
right?
have a formula error in my Excel for that. Let me take a look at that.
Looks like it's closer to 16 million.
I don't know about the rest of the committee, but personally, you know, I'm not gonna be able to sit and make a decision of saying, hey, I approve this in this shorter time period and look at it. I mean, you and the mayor, for instance, you've worked on this for months. I'm saying it.
We've been-
This page is, we haven't really reviewed this page in some detail. This is the third iteration on this, and even today, there've been a few changes. But the current budget is about 14.2 million.
Right.
So, we know this has to be something in excess of 2 million more, maybe 3 million more than the current year.
And I think the best thing to do
The total
would be like we did a while ago with our other motion,
Send it on that way.
to send it on without a recommendation and that budget. and-
I move that we
I'll
do
make
that.
that, I'll second his motion.
All right, guys, who made the motion? You did, and you seconded it? All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. I'm gonna hold up on discussion.
You want these back?
I'm not done.
No, he's got the little one.
Yeah, we still got more to
But
go.
they'll go quick. You just kinda thumbs up, thumbs
Every
down.
year we get to this point, everybody's ready to go, and we got more.
I got more?
Sorry.
It took me forever
Yeah.
to put my mind around having two budgets, the sheriff's office side and the jail side.
The real short one, 54,120, that's just a wash through that we give to the Corps of Engineers for our lake patrol duty, and that's all that is, so that's a reimbursement.
Make a motion to send forward.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
54,150, drug enforcement. Of course, you know, we pulled the positions out, and so you can see those totals there. We're gonna ask for a budget of total $328,000 for this year.
Well, I guess we can send that known without a recommendation, because I know the mayor and you all got to talk and discuss, right?
I'll make a motion to send without a recommendation.
All right, so and there's a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
We're asking for the same budget as last year for the sex offender registry, so that one has not changed.
Make a motion to approve with a favorable recommendation on that one.
Second.
Motion is.
We're gonna give them at least one.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried.
And then special purpose of 121 fund, those balances will roll forward at the end of the year, whatever's left in that fund, so.
All right,
That one we kinda do towards the end of, let's get approved and.
That's like the last day of
That's like the
the
last
budget
day.
year.
all right. Is there any,
Special purpose?
Yep.
What's that?
DEA,
DEA fund.
The what?
Drug Enforcement Agency.
feds?
Yeah, the Fed fund.
Now, do you want these back?
Sure.
Do you want these back?
I'd like to keep that.
You can keep it if you want to. I mean, we made it for you, but if you don't want it, I can repurpose it. I can recycle it.
I thought you were not wanting to forward them onto the budget, but if I
No,
keep
we'll
it-
make them up for them.
Okay.
Are you gonna make a recommendation on this last DEA fund?
No, there's nothing that they can do. The very last day of the budget year is whenever its budget gets set.
Just for info?
All right, is there any, have y'all got anything else?
I hope
No.
I'm telling you. I got a headache. All right.
You got it.
Is there any other business come before the committee from? Okay. stand adjourned.
We gotta
Thank
make
you.
the immediate.
Thank-